Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks, and welcome back to the podcast. So today's episode is brought to you by myself. We still don't have any sponsors, but I got to thinking, I do have some affiliate links, so when we don't have a sponsor for a podcast, I'm going to give out an affiliate link on brands that we are working with on the YouTube channel. So today's affiliate link for this podcast will be with WagBar. So WagBar is a brand that I recently partnered with on the YouTube channel. They make American Wagyu beef bars, and man, they are awesome. So personal favorite, hot and spicy. Awesome snack. In the tractors, I've always been a fan of beef sticks, beef jerky, that kind of stuff, and the WagBars, they definitely fit that bill very well. So if you are interested in trying American Wagyu beef bars, WagBars, I have a 10% discount code BFV, and I will attempt to put the link in the show notes. So if you want to check that out and get 10% off your first order of WagBars, there you go. So now we have that done, on to the guest. So today's guest is Ron Schroeder from Hartung Family Farms. Ron and I, we've known each other for 3-4 years now. Consider him a pretty good buddy, pretty good friend. Thank the world of Ron. Had a great time interviewing him on here. To be honest, this was one of the most natural flowing conversations I've had, and look forward to having him back. So enjoy. Well, we can either hear air conditioning or we can sweat.
Or we could just be real, man, like I said, and just turn it off.
Yeah.
And sweat.
Oh, man.
I mean, back in the 60s, how could they do it with their fancy microphones and no air conditioning?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, how did they host a podcast back then?
When they had no air conditioning, they were sweating out their podcasts.
I can only imagine.
Their
listeners probably really were very disappointed at hearing that air conditioning noise back in the day.
You hear the sweat dripping. They didn't have air conditioner in the background, but they heard sweat dripping.
Yep. So we're starting another episode here. Let's actually start it now.
Did we actually start it?
Yeah, kind of. We can leave in some of the audio.
Just a rolling start.
So we are in a different location. We are in our farm office. My kids have invaded the downstairs of my house, which is where we normally do this. Something about it being too hot in their bedrooms upstairs.
Bunch of sissies.
Yep. But anyways, so the audio in this room is a little bit different than we're used to. Lighting's better if you're watching it on the video, but the background's a little different, a little cluttered. But anyways, that does not take away from the guest we have today. We were talking with Ron from Hartung Family Farms. So, Ron, how you been, buddy?
I know it's very disappointing to be back in the horrible state of Ohio, but I guess, I mean, it happens.
Wow.
There's going to be a lot
This
of these
was a
jokes.
short podcast, folks. Thanks for coming, Ron.
Yep.
And kicked out the door. Gotta get this out of the way. You guys are Buckeyes. Can't stand you guys. It's just Hawkeyes in my blood. Even though we are inferior in just about every sport or educational opportunity.
You heard it here first.
No, I'm from Michigan. Does that make me any better?
It makes you worse.
Worse?
You're definitely
Worse.
below subpar.
He's
man.
been, he's an Ohioan now.
He's been ingrained in the culture. But
Yeah.
no, it's good. Definitely interesting seeing all the scenery and the phenomenal views of Central Ohio. I guess essentially where we're at.
Yeah, we're South Central
South
Ohio.
Central.
Yep. So, Ron, I don't know how much you want to get into your personal life, but you want to start with your background, and then we can tie that into how you ended up here, I guess, if you want.
Sure can. I was born on March 5th. I'm just kidding. So
March 5th, okay.
Yeah, 1994. I am a young.
Happy late birthday.
A wee one. Thank you. Thank you. Only a couple months late.
Was you
whatever,
really
right?
born on the 5th?
Sure was.
I was on the 9th.
Wow.
I'm a little bit older though.
For some reason, I think wasn't BJ born around there too?
Nope. Me and BJ are both born August 2nd.
Way off then.
Yep.
But Hartung Family Farms, that's, as Brian kind of mentioned it, that is the YouTube handle, Instagram, all the social medias. That is honestly how Brian and I met, 4 years ago now?
2019 farm show, I think, is the first time I've ever seen you.
Yeah. So
Big old goofy dude walking around with a GoPro.
Yep. I'm getting really good at talking to myself is kind of the best way how I explain it. I'm just good at talking in general, I guess. But, yeah, so we are a corn, soybeans, and cattle farm in eastern Iowa. A farm, basically I like to say the nose of Iowa. The Mississippi River kind of juts around central Iowa. Well, right in that nose is how I like to call it. So definitely not the flat, good God's country is what they like to say. We got plenty of hills, honestly, a lot similar to this. So we, like I said, farm corn, soybeans, hay, cattle around there. And then I'm actually not full-time on the farm. My full-time job is I'm actually a traveling combine engineer for John Deere. And that's honestly how I've been able to meet a lot of you guys. I was actually on the way home from a trip right now, and just figured I might as well spend a little bit of time to hang out with you guys and meet Monroe. Heard a lot of good things, a lot better things than Brian. But
Oh, man. Wow.
Talk chip, good buddy.
Okay, I appreciate that.
All lies.
Well, I guess he'll find out soon enough.
we got plenty of time to dive into that.
Yeah.
So what part of Tennessee were you in?
Oh, western part.
Okay.
Yeah, western part. I mean, it's a lot of wheat harvest going around there, so plenty to do.
Yeah. So with that job, I mean, you travel around quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, like, how many times do you find yourself in places that I didn't know they farmed here? Because I'd been through western Tennessee, but before then, if you'd have told me there was that much farm ground in Tennessee, I don't know that I'd have believed you.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit. I mean, I've done, I think, last I tallied, 10 different crops in 22 different states and provinces in Canada is what I've harvested a crop. I mean, probably the coolest one I've harvested cotton in southern Arizona in December. So that's probably one of the neater ones I've done. But there's plenty of stuff like that. Like, you know, another unique one is up in Canada. I had harvested pinto beans in, what was that, October last year or something like that. So there's interesting farming practices all over the country, and it's definitely not the corn, soybeans, and even occasionally wheat we see in the heart of the Midwest. I mean, it gets way diverse the farther you go away from the center.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, starting this first and foremost, I definitely do not want to get fired, so I'm trying to think of like a safe word. So like, yeah, anytime I don't want to say anything confidential, like I kind of want to be like Marshawn Lynch. I don't want to get fined. You know, I don't want to get fired. So I'm trying to think of a safe word like that. I was thinking pumpernickel, but if you guys have any other ideas, I'm all ears.
OH. Works.
Yeah, Buckeye. Yeah. Yeah, Buckeye. Can't talk about that. Buckeye.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't
That's a Buckeye.
So tell us about all the inner workings of Mother Deere. No, I'm joking.
Well, I was going to ask, so you work for that company?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Did you not say it? Because we can take that out.
No, I did say it.
Okay.
Yep. Well, I guess, can we say that on podcasts? I don't know.
I think it's the internet, and you can do whatever the hell you want.
That's a good point.
We can say fuck on here.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can fucking stand that, Brian.
I'm just saying. Like, you can say John Deere. We ain't getting kicked off for the F-bomb. We ain't getting kicked off for John Deere.
That's a good point. I mean, do we have any sponsors on this that we need to be worried about?
So today's episode is brought to you by Brian Brown.
Ooh, I
Yep.
like him. I heard he's a mixed fields at least.
Yeah.
But no, and even the more unique part is, you know, so I mentioned the farm back home. The farm's all red. I work all green. So that is also I wouldn't say a point of contention, but it's honestly a unique thing that I get a lot of questions about. So
Red as in?
Case IH.
Case IH. Okay, I'm a non-farmer, so you have to,
I forgot about
you know, there's multiple reds, right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, the there's
red
two
is
main
Case.
companies in the Midwest, and that's Case and Deere.
I like Case. My fellow I helped one time had a Case tractor he used for belt power. I always thought it was a diesel, I believe. Old tractor. Also, thought that was a neat tractor.
The belt power, you don't see those around at all. I mean,
Yeah.
those are pretty cool to see in like in antique shows, and like, you know, steam engines. The only one I've ever seen running a belt power, but
Yeah.
They did make steam engines, too.
not they did. I think that's how they got their start. Actually,
Is it?
I think
So you
so.
guys still got one of those around Hartung farms?
Yeah, I sure wish. We do have a Model H that can run a belt, but hasn't been used in a while.
Gotcha. So on your farm, I mean, I know a little bit about your background and stuff and a little bit about your operation, but you guys have a pretty big feedlot too, don't you? Or I guess, would you call that a feedlot? Or
I would say so, yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know what defines a feedlot, but that's what we call it, really. We got 4 feedlots, as you would say, about 200 to 250 head of cattle per feedlot. It's honestly what we find is the most efficient to, you know, watch the cattle, because cattle, especially in this heat and whatnot, you got to be walking through there at least once a day, if not twice. You got to make sure they got water, plenty of feed, and
I
whatnot.
mean, I'm sure you've seen some of the dead cattle in those videos from Kansas over the past couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. And it's, I don't think, honestly, there's any foul play, my personal opinion. You know, cattle, the best thing I've ever heard about raising cattle is if you're going to have livestock, you're going to have dead stock. It's just a fact of life. And you get it. To me, it was a freak of nature event where you had that high humidity, extreme high heat, and then that storm rolled through.
So for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, probably a week and a half ago, video started making the rounds on social media of just rows and rows of dead cattle. They said it was, the one I seen said 3,000. On video, you probably seen, I don't know, maybe 100.
About that, yeah.
And they were just stacking them with a skid steer and a line. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it's definitely sad to see that, because I don't care who you are. If you have livestock, you care about them. They're a part of your family. And to see that, I mean, honestly, it made me sick. And I only, like me personally, I only have a couple head of cattle to my name. But, I mean, our farm, like I said, we raised dang near close to 1,000.
Well, yeah, I mean, so we just got a storm, like, recently, like an hour ago. And if that storm would have flattened all of our corn, it would have made me sick. And that's not even like I mean, it is living, but it's not even an animal. I mean, you spend so much time with something, you care about it. I mean,
right. That's exactly
can't help
right.
but to care about it.
And to me, it just makes me sick to my stomach, because if you put yourself in that farmer's shoes or so, you know, you didn't mean for that to happen. It was just a freak nature event, is my opinion. And just seeing that, and then all the hubbub and whatnot that has been created from that, it's got to make a guy sick, because again, I personally don't think anything foul play there. I mean, it happens. It's a fact of life. And you talk in the grand scheme of things, the numbers I heard was about that entire evening or whatnot. I heard 3,000 on one feedlot, and then was it 10,000? Does that sound right? Just total out of that? I might be making that up, but
I keep seeing people trying to create a narrative that the government is doing that to create a food shortage. I'm like, nah, they need our tax dollars. They don't need us to starve.
that's a good point, because I mean, you think about it, each cow can be sold for anywhere from that $1,600 to $2,000.
I mean,
being conservative.
I mean, just looking at the size of those cows in that video, I mean, you're talking probably 600 to 800 pounds of meat per calf. There's a lot of food there that just died. So
that's exactly right, and it's like I said, it's a lot loss of profit both from the government's perspective.
let's say dollar wise. I mean, you're way more tied into the cattle industry than I am. Like, what would you say dollar wise that kind of loss was if it was 3,000 cattle?
I mean, each cow, let's just say it finishes out, assuming that cow would finish out around that 1,400 to 1,600, that's probably a very typical one. Cash cattle market, I believe, is around $1.30 a pound. So, I mean, you're grossing close to that 2,000, or I don't know, my math's off, but they're a little over $2,000.
$1,500, $2,000 a calf.
Yeah,
3,000 of them dead.
Were they full grown, or were they?
They looked like. I mean, they looked pretty large. Now, the video, they are swollen, like they're
Right,
dead.
yeah.
But they looked.
Man, it's a shame you couldn't get in there and save some of the meat at least.
and you don't want that, I guess, because especially when it's going into food consumption, you don't want that going in the human side of things. But I know it's not like those just go to waste. I believe they go into dog food, or there's
Right.
other regenerative practices
Okay.
that happen from that.
Yeah, I guess with the heat, it would have spoiled pretty quick.
I was kind of wondering what you do with that many dead calves. Because, I mean, if there was 3,000 of them in a pile, you're probably talking about an EPA incident at that point. I mean, it isn't like you just had one die and you dug a hole and threw it in it.
Yeah, I guess I honestly have no clue, because I mean, it's similar to what happened in 2020 with the hogs and whatnot, when the packing plants were shutting down, especially out in northwest Iowa. That was a big issue. But they didn't have any place to take the hogs. They had younger hogs coming to take their spot. There was no place to go. So I honestly have no idea what happened to them, and I'm assuming that's a similar type of situation that they were in.
Wow.
You're right. You can hear the little slurping.
Oh, yeah. You should try eating on here. First time we had pizza, and I don't think we ate any on the podcast, because you definitely heard.
Chips is the best. You can really hear the crunch.
Oh,
on it.
Kayla was eating chips one episode, and we had to put a kibosh to that. She was standing like 20 feet from the mic. Can you still hear it? Yeah, every time.
I'm sure I could just grab one of these crackers, and literally even just grabbing it would be just picking it up. Fancy equipment you got here, Brian.
Probably. It's a little bit different than a camera mic. Like, they're a little bit, a completely different style microphone.
Yeah, the camera mic, you don't have to literally shove down your throat to be able to talk. That is one thing.
Yep. So these are a lot more directional, but a lot more sensitive, too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I know you put the kibosh on this conversation earlier, but I do got a question for you guys. How did this come up for you guys?
Brian was the brains behind it. I'm just the.
I don't know about brains. I've never been accused of that. But I like talking to people. Yep. Like every time you've came out here, we've usually bullshitted in the evenings and get to hang out with quite a few people. So I was like, I'd like to make a podcast out of this. And also, like, there's people in my life that I'd like to have on here and have their story shared. Like George, for example. I've had a lot of people ask when George is going to be on the podcast. He will be eventually. Dad, I'd like to, sit down with Dad and really dive into our family history and stuff while it's still fresh and, everything's still there. And I don't know, I thought those were cool things to try to have on here.
Oh, I think that's awesome. That's a very good reason. What about you, Monroe?
Well,
and we were trying to get rich. Not working too well.
Finally, the honesty comes out.
For me, well, I love to talk. So that's helpful when doing a podcast. And me and Brian's been pretty good friends over the years. I was able to do some work for him. I'm a carpenter, so I kind of did a few odd jobs for him. We became pretty good friends. And then I guess when he decided that he was wanting to start this, he calls me or he texts me. He's like, hey, you want to host a podcast? And I'm like, at first I was like, you mean like an episode or like, he's like, no, the whole thing. I'm like, man, my first reaction was, heck yeah, I want to do it. But of course I had to think about it a little bit. But yeah, I've always thought this would be really neat. Obviously getting to meet people from all over the country or wherever this takes us. I think that's very neat. I love to talk to people, love to hear people's stories. And I think like being able to talk to his dad and hear the background behind Brian's farm and just, it'll be neat to, years from now, go back and listen to that and have that forever. So a lot of cool elements, but just being able to talk to people and might as well let other people listen in, I guess.
For sure. No, that's phenomenal. I think it's a really good reason, especially in the side of you talking, Brian. I mean, that's the little bit I've known you. That is a very, very true statement.
Yeah, I like to bullshit. I mean,
and he does. You made the comment earlier. He does have a good podcast voice. He's got that deep, kind of soothing growl.
He doesn't even have to look at the mic, and the mic will be like, "Yeah, that's Brian talking. I'll pick that up." If I look away a little bit, the mic's like, "I forget him."
Voice for radio, face for radio.
Yeah, you got that comment one time, didn't you?
I'll probably.
You got Brian. You really have a voice for. I think she said radio, and you were like, man, I was shooting for TV. A face for TV or something.
I mean, you're facing the right direction. At least the camera's facing mainly on me. So.
Yeah, well, I figure they see Monroe and I every episode. They only see the guest once.
The sides of us.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Yep. Any thoughts of you hosting a podcast? I mean, you literally travel around the country.
It'd be the traveling podcast. Now,
there's the name.
There you go.
I don't like you guys getting any ideas. If my wife ever watches this, she's going to come drive down here and kick the shit out of both of you guys.
She's getting a little tired of the social media.
Well, not necessarily that. Just I'm busy with everything else because I do all that stuff. I'm gone during the summer, gone in spring and fall, but I also do basketball reffing in the winter just because I love getting yelled at. It's a very good passion of mine.
Oh, we'll get into the basketball reffing. I forgot our notepads. They're in the box, but we'll still remember that.
I thought about that a minute ago.
But, yeah, so, I mean, I'm doing all this stuff. She's just like, anytime somebody gives me an idea, she just rolls her eyes and be like, okay, here we go again.
Oh, you sound a bit, well, she sounds a bit like my wife. I like to get into a lot of things, but I feel like, well, I just became a dad last fall.
Oh, congrats.
And thank you. So it's been it becomes a little bit of a juggling act. You got to pick and choose.
Definitely changes your priorities, too.
Yes, it does. Like, you have to decide, okay, do I really want to do this or do I just want to do this for now until it gets old? So, yeah, you definitely second think a lot of things that maybe before when I was younger, I just dive right in, and if it doesn't work out, big deal, move on.
You got to value that time a lot more when you get kids and family and whatnot, for sure.
Yeah, especially having multiple like you, I'm sure.
Well, no, once you have one, it's basically the same.
All right.
Yeah.
So we can have like a dozen.
Yeah. Like,
okay.
Like Tiff's got it. Kale's got it.
Yeah.
So when's the next one coming then, Brian?
No, there was a procedure done, so that's
that
out. That had better be out.
Ship has definitely sailed.
Ship has sailed.
Yeah.
The anchor has been
There's
cut.
going to be a lot of questions asked if that becomes a problem again.
Oh, that's funny.
Now, going back to where you're going all the time, how does that play into the farm? What are the expectations of you on like the family farm then with you, with your job having to travel quite a bit?
No, that's a great question. I mean, really, I only travel for the most part. I mean, nobody in the United States, on assumption, uses grain combines, so wheat, corn, canola, whatever. They don't start using them until mid-May at the absolute earliest. So most years the timing works out, and I run our sprayer for the most part in the spring. So I start March, April, somewhere around there, and usually by the time we're done planting, my uncle kind of tags me out. He runs the sprayer. And then literally like this year, it worked out where we were done planting. 2 days later, I shipped off to Tennessee. So typically, from a spring side of things, I am relied on quite a bit. And then you come to the fall time, I'm not as reliant. Whereas I'm one of two that can run our sprayer, but I drive a truck, I drive a grain cart. It's all interchangeable. So I'm not as needed in the fall. When I'm around to help out as much, but I'm not like a more or less expected to be around type of thing.
Okay.
So it gives a little bit of freedom, especially because I do travel up until December, depending on the years. But for the most part, like I said, it works out for the most part pretty well.
We might have a new visitor. Is he stopping?
I think
he's
rolling.
Nope, he went rolled by. So, like I said, we are in the farm office. Dad hangs out down here and watches TV every evening, so we're kind of camping on his party here.
He could come watch a podcast tonight.
He'd be talking in the background. You'd hear, no,
that ain't right, man.
You guys think it's hard to understand him when he's looking at a camera.
Well, I cannot wait for the episode. We'll have him on there. It's going to be great.
Well, like I told you, it's going to have to be very much so far removed away from planting season. Like about mid-July, everything's going to be sprayed. You know, we're going to kind of have a handle on how the corn's going to be, and he'll be in a lot better mood. Or he'll be resigned to the fact that it's a drought.
I think either way is going to be awesome, and I cannot wait till you guys can make this happen.
Well, one thing about Dad, when you get him talking, like he likes to exaggerate a lot of things too. So, we'll have to keep him in check, but I think it'll be good. So, a few years ago, we did some videos of like old videos, home videos that him and Mom had made on the farm, and those were probably some of my favorite things that I've videoed. And I don't know, that's kind of why I wanted to get him on there. Like our whole family history is based around what tractor he had at what year, basically. That's how he remembers everything. So.
You guys didn't tell me the rules about phones going off.
Oh, I don't care. You can have a conversation if you want.
He's digging out phones out of two
put her on
pockets.
speakerphone. Who you got there?
No one yet, but I'm sure, like I said.
Let's listen to this call with John Deere. What are you doing?
We heard deer.
They're always watching.
Yeah. You don't know it. That phone's got a bug in it.
It probably does.
That is true. Oh, I do got to bring this up, though, at some point. So, like I said, I do work for Deere, but just because I do work for Deere, so they have a social media policy, and anything, it just basically like, hey, you can do what you want. You're your own person, but just because you work for Deere, you can be sometimes kind of contribute as a representative for the company. For example, you've interviewed people for Deere before. They are representing the company, but like in personal senses like this, I just, it is into the policy that, even though I work for Deere, these are my own personal opinions. And actually, at the bottom of every single YouTube video, I have this disclaimer out there like, hey, I work for Deere. This is my position at Deere. But all of the opinions and, likeness and whatnot shown here is of my own opinion, not the opinion of John Deere.
Yeah. So even though you're here, Ron Schroeder, Hartung Family Farms, not Ron Schroeder, John Deere engineer, right. If you got in here and start bad-mouthing John Deere, they would probably frown on that one.
They might take a little bit of a exception to that, and I may or may not be employed for very much longer. So I do enjoy the social media aspect of it, but I also enjoy a steady paycheck and benefits and all that stuff.
Now, how long did you walk that social media line without telling everybody where you worked? Because you didn't come out with that right up front, did you? Wasn't there a little gap?
No, that's a good point. I guess I completely forgot about that. But yeah, I tried to keep 2 and 2 separate for a very long time because I knew there was, especially because there's that controversy. I am running competitive brands, and we can dig into that a little bit later. But, I wanted to keep 2 and 2 separate because I enjoy video editing, and it's a good hobby of mine. And I enjoy, working on combines. It's also a passion of mine. So I wanted to keep 2 and 2 separate. But then I think at some point it somehow got brought up, and now I'm like, I'm open about it. I'm not hiding it by any means, but
has it ever came up at work?
All the time.
Like, not just from coworkers. I mean, by like upper level people.
Yeah, I one time I had a video earlier in my years, but I for some reason I had my work laptop out behind me or whatnot when I was taking a clip.
That's probably how it came out.
And I got reported to compliance or whatnot because they thought I was using Deere resources like cameras or computer editing or anything like that to do that. And, they did an investigation. I have my own stuff. Obviously, I cannot be using, Deere computers or anything like that to do this for personal gain.
Yeah, just porn.
Yeah, it's exactly right. But, yeah, so it came out. They did an investigation. But, yeah, I thought I was in deep shit for a while because, like, hey, I'm getting called to bigwig corporate because of some unknown reason. Oh, crap, what did I do now? Did they find out about my secret stash in the closet? I don't know. But.
Whoa. Write that down, Monroe.
Yeah. I'll address that later, I guess.
But, yeah, so I'm open about it right now. Like I said, I'm not hiding it, but it is something that I kind of have to walk the line. I got to be careful about what I say at times because, like I said, I enjoy what I do, like from the social media side of things, but it's not a full-time job, and I don't ever see it to be because, same thing from a security-wise, YouTube could pull the rug out at any point. So it's just, like I'm not making ungodly amount of money, but it's pays for the equipment and stuff and makes it a little bit worth the time. So.
Well, I don't know about for me, it's like the only hobby I've ever had that I enjoyed doing that also made money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just treat it more or less as a hobby then.
I've always looked at it as mad money. Like, I never want to depend on YouTube for money.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not looking to go in a lot of debt based on what I made on YouTube last year.
A fellow I was working with recently, he invests some money in the stock market, and his wife calls it funny money. I kind of like that phrase, I guess. I don't know what it means, but it's just funny. I guess. I don't know.
I wonder if that's what Whistling Diesel always thinks about any of his money that he spends.
I think he's on a little bit different level than us, buddy.
I think he maybe is, maybe a couple million more.
Like, I think, I got a feeling YouTube could probably, like, tell him to F off right now, and he'd still be okay. And if not, bad on him, because he's made enough that he should be.
That's a very good
He could start his own YouTube.
I don't know if he's that big, but he's got a lot of friends that are real big, and like a lot of other channels that if he could get them to collab with him in that other site, I mean, some of the names he hangs out with in that space, like especially the space he's in, are pretty big. Like Demolition Ranch, that's a very big channel. Heavy D, that's another very big channel.
He hangs out with Heavy D?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I mean, I don't know how much, I don't know if they're actual friends or not, but they've done a few collaborations together, and
I feel like it's kind of like the, a lot of the ag YouTubers or whatnot. I mean, I would
you get together, like, I'll go out. Like, if we're in the same town, you're like, hey, you want to go get a drink? Of course, because we got common things to bitch about. I mean,
source of most friendships right there.
Yeah.
Yep. So going back to the farm, though, when you started, carrying around a camera, at that point, were you just, like, fresh out of college, or... I mean, you're what, 30 or 28?
Be careful in your answer, Brian.
You're 28?
I don't think about it. Yes, I am, actually.
Okay.
Good guess.
So you've been doing this 4 years, roughly. So, like, how long had you been back, like, out of college? Like, were you already working at John Deere when you started and everything?
Yep. Working at John Deere. So I graduated when I was 22. I actually worked away from the farm 3 hours or so for about a year and a half or so. And then eventually got an opportunity to move back, essentially in the current job I'm at right now. And, ever since I moved home, I started, becoming more and more involved on the farm. I actually worked on sprayers out at Des Moines. John Deere Des Moines Works is where their sprayers are made. I worked on them out there. When I came home, we were still running a Hardy pull-type sprayer, and my uncle was doing all the planting and all the spraying, running himself ragged. So I came in, kind of more or less pushing them, hey, why don't we have a self-propelled sprayer? I see the benefits, why don't we do that? So I came in there, started doing that spring, and that was also the spring that I was like, I bought a GoPro for my wedding, which I apologize, honey. The only reason we bought this GoPro is so I would have a video for our honeymoon. I still haven't done that video yet.
Oh, no.
Hey, we went on our 10-year anniversary trip to Hawaii. I haven't looked at the footage either.
Nice.
Ooh.
OnlyFans channel. I mean, anyways.
Maybe someday. But
no.
At least you're not 5 years in the making there. And that was literally the only reason that we bought that GoPro. But
can't imagine why she doesn't like the social media.
Can't imagine it either. She never gets to see me. Whatever. But so I started doing. Then I was like, I got this GoPro just laying around. I enjoy farming videos.
So that was 18, right?
Yep.
So at that time, there wasn't a whole lot of farming videos out there.
No, it was really Zach was. He was starting to take off.
No one had 100K yet.
I think How Farms Work did. He was the OG that I consider, because I started following him back in 13 or 14.
Okay.
He's been around for a while, which Ryan Kister, he's only an hour from me, smaller farm, cattle, corn and beans, very similar to my operation type of thing. But, beer? Oh, yeah. We haven't christened the mics yet.
No water in it?
I got one right here. How about Mike Less, or Farmhand Mike? Wonder, because he started way back in the day, like
he was
06 or no
2012, I think.
12.
He was around the same time too, and I think I didn't really catch on to Mike until about right before I started getting into YouTube. I can't remember what it was. The first video might have been his. Oh, I forget the one it was. There it is.
That's a good one.
That was a really good one.
Let's see what you got.
You can tell that's a bush.
Yeah, it even went bush a little bit.
Yeah, but I think How Farms Work was one of the first ones that started actually vlogging day-to-day activities. Like Mike,
yes.
Even when we talked to him, he said like his first videos were just 30-second clips of tractors driving by.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and that's the type of videos that I, to this day, still enjoy, and that's why I started getting into it, is because, hey, if these people can do it, I got the camera, I enjoy editing, I already have the program and whatnot. So I just got into it, and it was a rocky road to start out by any means, because, I mean, farmers are, in general, I'd say, are private people. We live out in the country. We don't really keep to ourselves. So that was an interesting bridge to cross,
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, you're not there full-time, and if I'm not mistaken, is your uncle kind of the main overseer of everything?
Yep.
And then he's got his nephew coming in, like, a few hours a week. He's carrying around a GoPro. I was wondering how that dynamic worked out for a while.
I know, right?
Freaking millennials.
Yeah, probably.
It's an interesting dynamic by any means, but it's something that they've come just used to because they.
Well, a couple of your cousins, do they still carry around cameras
Yep.
for you?
I got two of them sitting in the shop for them. They do it on occasion. It's just yeah. But honestly, I got a camera for my dad, my two cousins, and they use it when they can, and it's extra supplemental. That way they don't have to listen to me drone on for hours and hours. As you guys will come to find out, you guys are probably going to kick me out of this. I'm just jabber-jowling for a while.
Ain't my first rodeo with you, dude. We did a live stream for like an hour and a half last time he was here.
That's a good point. That is a good point. But yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so they were pretty open to the idea of YouTubing then?
It took a little while to come around, I would say. I mainly just kept to myself and the small jobs that I was doing. Obviously, asked permission and all that fun stuff. Because
you didn't just like walk around with the camera out like you own the place and seen one of them just hide it?
I did not go all
I did that for a while.
Really? I cannot imagine your dad not being in front of a camera. I'm sure he would have loved that starting out.
It was okay, so he never cared. He really didn't. And I didn't care if he cared. But getting over the initial hurdle of him seeing me talking to myself, holding a camera, was very, very strange.
Especially when there's work to be done, probably.
Yeah. So back then, I would definitely not do it while we were doing it. Now, I would just flip that thing out, hit record while we're in the middle of doing something and not care. But back then, especially not. Like, I remember one of the very first ag videos I did, we were changing oil in my combine, getting ready for wheat harvest. And I had my camera in my pocket, and I think he went to go let the dogs out.
Actually let the dogs out?
No, I think he went to take a shit.
Dogs out.
And as soon as he left, I had that thing out, and I'm sitting here recording everything, and I hear his gator coming, or his Kubota at the time coming up. I'm like, we're putting her down.
Cut.
But I feel like, I definitely started there at some point, too, because, not everybody's comfortable around the camera. You know that. You've probably known that as well, because if I don't mistake, you have a YouTube channel as well, Monroe?
Yeah, and I'm not comfortable around the camera.
Don't blame you.
So I wish he would do more, because they renovate houses. Mm-hmm. And some of the houses that I've seen them do, like, they look like, what is that? Is that a bird?
Yes. I think there's a bird outside, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Real soundproof walls here.
Monroe
built this. No, not really.
This building's older than I am.
Actually, it's not. 2008.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Luckily, I know someone with a really good shot on birds. Just found that out today.
Yeah, Daxie got his first kill with the BB gun today.
Really?
Anyways, though, I don't even know where we were now.
Oh, getting starting on YouTube and whatnot. So it was an interesting dynamic, and like I said, eventually people more and more became, I wouldn't say comfortable with it, but we've been doing it you and I have started around the same time. It's become a thing where, I even have, for example, I have a couple kids of a rented farm that we have. There's two younger fellows in high school and middle school that they watch all the videos and whatnot, and every time they see a piece of equipment, they always walk out and see if it's me, and if it's me, they jump in with them and whatnot. And it's become like I said, I'm not big time by any means, but it's hard to be when you're gone for half the year.
So I've got one farm we farm. And went over to introduce myself. It's not a very big farm. It's just a piece of ground. It's basically landlocked to anybody but us. And this family had bought this place, and we walk over to introduce ourselves. And we were going to ask them. We were going straight over, going to ask them if we could, rent this piece of dirt. It literally joined our field. And the guy that was farming it, he had passed away, and no one else's equipment was fitting into this field. And first thing I know you. I follow you on Instagram from Missouri. I'm like, oh, well, hey. This is where I live. And, same. Every time I plant over there, they'll hop in. I'm like, man, I'm glad to enjoy hanging out with them, but I can't video anything while you're here. It's super awkward. Yeah.
Well, just today, shoot, when I rode with him around for finishing his last 20 acres of beans, I had my camera with me, he had his, and I completely forgot about it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, we got the bullshitting. And
it just happens. I probably ruined a perfectly good video for him, finishing bean harvest.
No, it was just the tail end of yesterday's video.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Nice.
Let's talk about some of the houses you've redone. There we go. That bird got me sidetracked. Instead of a squirrel's a bird.
Stacks.
Yep.
Come save us.
But some of the houses they redo, though, you see pictures of them. They look bad, some of them. And you guys do really good work. I wish you would have time to do more on the YouTube, because it's pretty cool stuff. Some of the houses are.
What type of houses or what type of demolition renovation are you guys doing?
As far as any residential house, really, anything outside. Well, we do some in town too, I guess. But
I wish you had the YouTube channel when you had the one with the turds in the living room.
Oh man,
I feel like there's a backstory there.
Yes.
We haven't told it on here yet, so go ahead.
Okay, we bought a house. So a lot of our homes that we buy look pretty rough because, well, they're foreclosed. So we bought a house sight unseen, you know.
Monroe is the only friend I have where I can bump into him. Bought a house lately, and bought 2.
Wait, if the opportunity is there, you got to take it. So, anyways, we bought this house sight unseen, and well, we drove by it, looked at it, said, yeah, maybe not. I actually think.
Did it have like road appeal?
It was okay.
Just in a good
I
spot.
remember thinking, I'm gonna go. Let's go. I don't know. I forget what the price was now. Let's go here and Tiffany. My wife was like, I think I'll go a little bit further. She gets into a little bit of a competitive spirit. If there's like this was at like some public auction or something.
Hate to lose a bid.
Yeah, you can't lose to somebody else, especially if it's the same guy every time. If it's some investors like, I'm gonna take him out this time. Anyway, so she got in the she got caught up in the.
I see her saying that.
There was this one house she actually did. We had just went bid against him on one, and then on the next one we bid against him again. And she went way above what we had agreed on. And we ended up having to sell that house. And didn't make, ended up just getting out from underneath it because there's 2 houses that happened on, and this was one of them. The other one was the other one. But anyway, so this house that we decided on a number. She went a little bit higher and ended up getting it. We hadn't looked at the house, and it was still occupied. And there was another lesson learned. It's still occupied. Well, it took us a while to get the people out, unfortunately. And finally, when they did move out, we decided we'll go look at this place that we bought, 2 months ago. And
man, 2 months that they were living there while you owned the place and paid taxes and all that fun stuff.
Oh yeah, it took a while. Like you can if you live at a place, you got a lot more rights than the person buying the place. Let's just say that. So anyways, so they finally moved out. We decided we're going to go look at it. We opened the door, and this overwhelming stench hits us. And it's like took your breath. Like, I kid you not, couldn't breathe at first. And it's just cat odor, like cat pee, so bad. Like, you know what cat pee smells like.
Yeah.
Well, when it's multiplied, and I back it up a little bit. Before we even opened the door, there's a hole that went underneath the house. There's a crawl space window that had been knocked out. Well, anyways, a cat comes out of there. Another cat. And another one. And another one. And then here comes a couple out of the pole barn. And all in all, we counted about 30 cats. And these are the cats that were still there after the people had left. So we don't know how many had been in here in total.
Good grief.
So we get in the house, and the stench was just unbelievable. And mind you, these people had been living in it. And our thought was, well, if somebody's living there, how bad can it be? Well, we get in.
Found that out.
So we get in there, and there's carpet. And as you're walking through, the carpet is your feet are sticking to the carpet, like a little bit of a squish. And it's like, I didn't even want to think about what was making the squishing noise, but I can guess.
I would have just lit a match at this point and walked away.
Well, there's a litter box right inside the door, and you couldn't see the box for the litter, it was buried. And we get into the living room area, and we're like, man, this is awful. What have we got ourselves? And the outside did not look like that at all. Like, you would have never thought that. And we get into the living room, and there's a recliner in one corner, and in the opposite corner is a pile of poop. And it is not cat poop. I kid you not. They were using the bathroom in the corner of the living room. And we come to find out there was a big water leak in this house, and the toilet quit working. So we just started going in the corner of the living room, and I'm like, oh, my gosh. And then on the front door, there was a sign that says, no smoking, oxygen in use. And I'm like, that's the least of your worries.
Person needs oxygen so they can breathe.
You just about needed some oxygen to get in there, but.
I don't know that I heard the part about the sign.
Yeah, but, and then this is one other part where they went with a friend of my father-in-law had this lady that would, so he built houses, and he had this lady that would come and clean the houses afterwards, and she'd do a lot of the, just clean up the construction dust and all that. And she cleaned some other, like, he had some rentals. She cleaned some rentals out. And he was telling her about this house. And she's like, oh, it can't be that bad. We can clean up anything. He's like, get in the truck. So he took her down there. And she goes in the one door, and we're just waiting outside and waiting. And here she comes out the back door about to throw up. And we're like, get in there, get that clean. And she's like, nope, not touching it. And then one more incident happened to that house is there was a rooster there that some friend decided he wanted.
Why wouldn't there be?
One of your friends wanted this rooster?
He wanted a rooster. So we're like, okay, let's go get this rooster. So they take a cage, and they go down there. And they somehow managed to corral the rooster. And then after they got that done, of course, my father-in-law was like, I got to show you this house. You got to see. It became an attraction, sort of. Like, I don't know how many people we took there just to show the house. And he's like, you got to see this house. And so they're going in the house. Of course, electricity is off at this point. I don't know if they paid a bill and how long. And it's dark in there somewhat. Well, they're in there kind of going through the house a little more extensively than we had, I guess. They open up a closet door, and this guy, a full-grown man, screams like a little girl. And this cat comes flying across the bedroom. So it turns out he opened the door, and the cat jumps and hits him right in the chest.
I just screamed, too.
In the dark. Couldn't tell what it was. But
I definitely screamed in the dark.
No shame.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we actually had a guy come price have it tore down. Because we could have renovated it, but the real estate guy that was talking to said that smell will not come out of the wood. Luckily, the guy knew somebody that wanted to buy it, so we just let him have what we had in it.
He told you that so you'd sell it to him.
Maybe. So anyway, and it's still standing, and people are living in it.
No.
They have told us, now come see it when it's done. I'm like, man, I'm scared to. I'll be honest with you. But they've made it work, so I guess they had a lot more energy and guts than we did.
They must have wanted that lot.
I'm glad to hear that you did not do any personal renovating in there, because then I'd be questioning your sanity or your sense of smell. One of those two.
Have you done any worse?
No. Oh, no. Well, no.
I mean, like, worse than what it needed done, not, like, worse than, like...
The shape.
Yeah.
As far as... We've never done any that have that much stench and just...
So, like, to renovate that house, would you have to take it down to bare studs?
No. If it wouldn't have been for the cat litter and the pee everywhere, it really wouldn't have been that big of a renovation. Like, it had decent bones. And that's the thing that, it had...
Well, what about the water leak in the basement, though?
It's basement. It's allowed to get wet. I mean, you can drain that out and power wash it and clean it up. And it's all block. I mean, there's nothing really to... now, if you had drywall and stuff like that, obviously, you'd have to get rid of that. But that's not a big deal. And as long as the plumbing is in the floor where it's... if the pipe is leaking underneath the floor joist, is running straight down, not soaking any wood or whatnot. No, that wouldn't have been the biggest issue. But we did have one other one that had it had a sump pump, and the sump pump had quit working. And, of course, that basement was about 5 foot of water in it, probably, so half full. The funny part about this, so my father-in-law gets into a lot of these. I think he likes to just follow us around just to see what he can get into. And it looked like the scene of the Titanic, where there's furniture floating in the water. Because this basement was really nice. Like, they had furniture down there. And there's furniture floating in the water, and it's like, we get this idea that, let's see if we can plug the sump pump in. Because this was like a tri-level. It had like a 5-foot stairs going down to the floor. Well, the steps they were wooden, and it had broken off, and they were floating in the water, so there was no steps to get down in there. So we're like, let's see if we can just hit the reset on the GFCI plug-in on the sump pump and see if we can get this to work again.
That's a good way to get electrified.
Nah, well, you're not, hopefully not standing in the water, but those plugins are meant to be standing in the water anyways to grab it. But
I have a bad experience with those kind of plugins. I have a scar on my finger.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys have your notepads? You guys are coming up with your own content as is. I love it.
So anyway, we decided we're going to drag this piece of furniture, this solderboard piece of furniture over and set it in the, and this was from the dry part of the basement, and set it in the water. And he's going to stand on that to reach over and hit the reset on the plug-in. We set it down in there, and he stands on it, and when he's just about to reach the plug, and that thing gives out, and he falls.
Oh God!
And mind you, and he falls in clear up to his chest, and it's like, oh, I had to like drag him. I was like, well, I'm going home.
God, I wish Larry would be on here. Oh, I got a feeling he's got a lot of those stories.
He does. Oh man, the thing. Okay, so he's a little bit. Okay, I'll tell you one real quick. He's a go-getter. And he's sometimes a little bit too much of a go-getter. He went to pick up an old truck one time.
I know this. I think I know this story.
Like an old 50s Dodge truck or something like that. And him and his dad went down to West Virginia somewhere. And they pick up this truck, and they were heading back on 64. And I don't know, 64 is a pretty big highway, 70-mile-an-hour speed limit. You know, I think they might have been coming around Charleston, like 4 lanes of traffic.
It's an interstate, I think.
Yeah. Anyways, and he feels this bump, and he looks back, and the truck is following them, going on the high. It's off the trailer. Ooh. It's following them, and he just like, and he's like, we're in the middle of traffic here, and he just like grabs the steering wheel real tight, and he just kind of slowly eases it over to the edge of the highway, and the truck follows him over to the edge, and he stops, and it just so happens, well, okay, so the truck come undone. He didn't have the straps tight or whatnot, or I don't know how many straps he had on it, but anyways, it rolled off the trailer, but when the front end dropped, the bumper grabbed the trailer, and the front end was pretty much hooked to the trailer. And I'm like, wow. Like, if I were to do something like that, truck would be barrel rolling. Like, 70 miles an hour, a truck comes off a trailer, an old truck like that thing's going to barrel roll down the highway.
No doubt.
It's not just going to careen and hit a wall. Anyways, and then his dad was telling somebody about it, and the old lady was like, man, God was really riding with you guys, wasn't he? And he's like, no, God was driving the other truck. But yeah, he has some interesting stories, experiences. This guy's done anything and everything too. But yeah, absolutely, he'd be a good guest. I'll have to convince him.
I think you should. If that's any foreshadowing to what he's like, holy crap.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing about that, we found out later that this septic system also had an up pump. So basically,
you talking about
where half the basement flooded.
Where Larry fell in the water.
Yeah, where Larry fell in the water. It had an up pump, so basically the toilet in the basement was lower than the septic tank, so it had a pump that pumped it up into the septic tank. So it turns out the septic tank had backed into the basement, too.
Oh, it was crap water.
This was after we found, like, way later, I'm like, Larry, yeah, that wasn't just rainwater.
You imagine, like, walking around in there and finding a nail with your foot?
Ooh.
Like, just the amount of dirty crap. Like, I don't get grossed out. Like, that would gross me out. Yeah, I don't think I can.
You should have been there to help clean it up then.
Oh.
After the water was drained, there was sludge.
Oh, yeah, it was shit.
Again, did not know that until, like, later that, oh, wait a minute, there's another pump.
So did you guys renovate that one and flip it?
Yeah. It actually, like, once again, it was all concrete floor, brick or block wall. Once we got all the crap, the mess out of it, power wash, cleaned it up, it was nice. It was one of the nicer houses up to that point that we had done.
Okay.
So you just got to work. You got to be willing to work with a little bit of crap to, make.
Well, quite literally.
Yeah.
Like, how do you you power wash that and you have all this, like, mat of sludge and human water.
I shoveled it all out before I power washed. No, you just shovel it out onto the dump trailer.
See, I can do that. I can do cattle manure. I can shovel cattle manure and run that stuff all day. Human manure, feces, shit, I can't handle
I wouldn't say that this actually had any feces in it. It just had it, because really the feces wouldn't have backed up. It would have been any kind of water, like surface water. I don't know what all would have been in it, but it definitely had that smell to it. And I realized later that, I think it was after we tried to flush the toilet in the basement, we realized that there's a pump that doesn't work that runs this up into the septic tank.
Oh, no.
So we've had some surprises, but yeah, we've had some doozies.
Honestly, obviously not enough to keep you from doing it. So
no, I love it, man. You never know what you get into.
Man,
5 feet of human shit. Yeah, I love it. I love hearing the stories.
I do too, Monroe. Like that's impressive. I'll give you that.
But my drawback is on that part is how much of that do you want to film and let your people that buy your houses see? That's a draw. I don't know. That's just a drawback for me.
That's a good point.
I'd tell everyone to let us know in the comments, but there's not any comments.
Oh,
there's on that one.
Oh, there is. I forgot about the video.
Would you buy a house if you knew that the basement had flooded? Well, I don't know. To me, that wouldn't be a big deal because, like I said, it's not like anything got ruined.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you were a video, and I'm not saying you would do this, but if you were a video and you haphazardly patching up a floor joist or something,
right,
that would probably be something you wouldn't want them to notice, but I don't think you would do that either.
Yeah, and I always, like, I won't sell a house unless I feel good about it. I mean, I always tell my wife, I said, I'm not going to sell or rent a house that I wouldn't live in or buy myself. Mm-hmm. It's just the people buying it didn't see what I started with.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think your feelings are valid in that sense that, I mean, me personally, the house I bought have had 5 feet of sludgy shit water in there, I wouldn't want to know about it, quite honestly. So,
yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know. Is that something to be concerned about? It's like if you buy a vehicle and, you know, if it's, I mean, obviously it has a salvage title, you know, it's been wrecked, but you don't know how bad or how good a job the guy did putting it together.
One thing that worries me about a salvage vehicle would be knowing if someone was like, is it a fatality accident? Which I think they have to tell you that, don't they?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
So a house would be the same way. Like if I knew that like 3 people got murdered with an axe there in the living room, I don't know that I want to live there.
We did look at a house that had supposedly a murder had happened. We didn't buy it, but we looked at it and I'm like, we didn't actually go in, but I would have, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how much that gets cleaned up. Like they have people that come after a crime scene and clean it up.
I would think, I'm pretty sure on salvage titles cars, don't they say like biohazard material or something like that on them?
Oh, is that what?
I think that's what that means.
Because
like,
I also,
right.
me and Brian also like to dabble in the salvage vehicle.
Well, I've never bought any. Monroe has bought several.
I look at it the same way as houses. If I can buy something cheap that needs work, heck yeah, I'm all for it.
No, I thought I bought a Suburban. Like I definitely tried to buy Kayla a totaled Suburban like a few months ago.
I'm sure she would have loved that.
Well, we were okay with it until we seen the other photos. So I guess in that way, like, so this Suburban had been wrecked. It'd been wrecked twice. And whenever you do a VIN search on a car, you can see every time it's been for sale on like an auction. Well, the current sale, it had the wrecked photos. They didn't look bad at all. It looked like a fender bender. And then it was already fixed. And oh shit, this is a 2019 Denali Yukon. Like this is gonna be great. Like I mean, we were getting it. I don't know. This is gonna be like a $40,000 car, but you're talking about a $65,000, $70,000 car.
Right.
And then I searched the VIN number and realized that thing had been folded up like an accordion a year before that. I was like, you know what? Maybe we don't want that one.
Not for 40 grand at least.
Yeah. Like I thought we were getting a car without basically a fender bender.
You know, that's another thing that Larry, my father-in-law, almost bought a Jeep truck, that new Gladiator.
I can't stand those things.
Oh, really?
Oh,
are you a Jeep guy or are you not a Jeep guy?
I don't mind Jeeps.
Okay.
Just the Drux is like I just can't stand them.
Because I know there's Jeep people that don't like them because it's not a Jeep. So I don't know how, to me, I'm kind of indifferent towards them. But
so
anyways,
to me, it's not a Jeep when it has 4 doors.
Oh.
So
well, so you're the original, like you
when
like
I think of a Jeep, I think of a 2-door small vehicle.
Yeah.
I don't think of a station wagon with 2 straight axles.
See, now for me, I wouldn't have one unless it had 4 doors because I feel like a 2-door is not practical if you have a kid.
I know it ain't practical, and I also know that the 4-door is probably going to wheel better because it has a longer wheelbase. So I'm just saying, I don't think of a Jeep having 4 doors.
Yeah, so you're just not going to buy it as a family vehicle. It's more of like a runaround.
Well, you've seen my Roxor. I mean, it only has 2 doors.
Right.
But that's a family vehicle.
Yeah.
There's 3 seatbelts in the back of it.
He made it a family vehicle. Anyways, he wants one of those Gladiators pretty bad. Well, he's found this one on eBay. And the price was good, and it's like, man, and it had a salvage title. They were clear about that, and it said something about the title said flood damage, but we took this vehicle apart and could not find an ounce of water damage. We don't even know if it's been in water. For some reason, it might have been in a lot that had flood, and anyways, they totaled this vehicle. Very nice looking vehicle, and I think about a little over half price what it would cost if it did not have a salvage title. And he's like, man, this is a deal. I want this thing. I was like, well, let me look at it. And that same website that we use to look up if it's ever been through like a salvage title auction, you can see. And I pulled this sucker
You can also see what it sold for, can't you?
You can see what it sold for. You can see what the people bought it for. And you can see what it looked like when it came to the auction. So I pulled this sucker up, and I kid you not, all but about a foot of the cab was you could see the water lines all the way up to about a foot. The inside seats were just covered in mud. And it's like, ooh. I told him, I said, we looked at that, and I was like, there's your truck. And Larry's like, oh my gosh.
Maybe we'll pass on that one.
But it's like, how in the world? So there are people out there that will, like, clearly, if you buy that truck, you're going to look and like, you can't tell me that you don't see an ounce of water. Like, I wish you could see the picture. It was that bad. Like, the thing was just covered in mud. So it's like, clearly there's people that buy vehicles like that, and all they probably did was clean it up. And I cannot believe that they wouldn't have any electrical issues with it, but maybe not. Maybe they just washed it and were like, yeah, there's no sign of water damage to this one.
Coming from an engineer, I find that highly doubtable.
I know. Like,
no way.
I get it. It's the Jeep, that may be somewhat of an off-road vehicle. Maybe they have better connectors, but
off-road,
still.
yes, but not
underwater.
Yeah, not a submarine.
Rated for underwater. Yeah. So anyways, but there's people that will do that kind of thing, and I think that's the kind of thing that I feel like people might get suspicious of if they know, like, see what it looks like. Yeah, you know, they don't know how good a job you did fixing it up. I mean, they can see the after part, but drywall and paint, siding covers up a lot of stuff. So you didn't hear it here, though.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on. We got a guest here that we're not talking about.
I am enjoying this conversation.
Hey, Ron, go get us something to drink while we're talking here.
You didn't know he was going to be the gopher when you got here.
I'm fine. Hey, that's the usual when I come to Bryant. Like last time.
Well, last time you came at harvest. But
that's true. And I also stopped harvest for about two hours, would you say?
yeah, we're just going along great. We got plenty of help finally, and we're just setting the world on fire here with 2 combines.
2 combines, grain cart, multiple trucks.
Ron calls me and says, hey, I crashed my drone in a tree. You know, if we can get it out? Like, well, luckily for you, I know a guy with a bucket truck.
And not just a tree, like not like a 20-footer or anything like that. No, we were like above the road. What would you say, 60 feet, 70?
I mean, it's a 40-foot bucket, so you didn't get higher than 40.
No, that's true. Man, that's only 40 foot.
Yeah, it's probably 60.
I thought it was a 60-foot.
Yeah, it's probably 60. Yeah.
That's a 60-foot truck, I think.
Big Mike went up there and grabbed it.
Really?
No. BJ went and got it.
Oh, Big Mike ran the bucket, didn't he? Yeah.
Wait, I thought you run it from the bucket.
I think there's pilot controls on the bottom, too, or controls on the bottom.
So BJ got in and let Big Mike run him up there.
I think so. I think he's
He
right.
won $100 doing that too.
Did you actually give it to him?
No. Your dad gave it to him though.
Oh.
You know?
Man.
Yeah. So long story short, so Brian and his dad are out running their combines. Awesome golden hour. I'm just humming along, not paying attention. All of a sudden, my drone stops. I don't even know what the heck's going on. I look up. Sure as shit, there it is sitting there 40 feet higher in the So I call him just like, crap, I'm so sorry, Brian. Long story short, they find the bucket truck, which apparently it pays to have friends that are linemen.
Yeah, tree trimmer.
Oh, tree trimmer, sorry.
He also does have lineman friends. But yeah,
Well, there might have been an inside way of getting that bucket truck. We might have knew the guy that did the maintenance on the truck and told us told the person that bought the truck, hey, this is a good auction buy if you can get it cheap.
Nice.
That's how that truck
Wait a
is.
minute. I didn't know that he actually worked on that truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that came from his garage.
Cool.
Had like a rear end out because another friend who is a lineman neutral drops it. So we knew we knew the story on that one.
Wow, that's a good deal. I didn't know that.
Well, either way, it paid for that because, I mean, before we knew that you could get this bucket truck, me and BJ are just taking corn cobs and rocks and just trying anything just to throw it and chuck it at it, just hoping that it would fall. Because I just want the SD card at this point.
That was the only reason I wanted it.
So you were filming Brian?
Yep.
Okay.
It was his drone, not mine.
Right, but he was on your or watching you or filming you harvest and all that.
Well, we had both combines going, and that doesn't happen in corn very often.
Gotcha.
And Ron's got these great shots. I'm like, damn it, I don't want those. We're going to have to get that drone back.
So,
wait till a tree falls down.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were going to get to. But luckily, like I said, he had the bucket truck, and somehow you convinced, I don't know who convinced
Well, Cody
BJ.
was Big Mike was trucking for us.
Right.
And he is part owner of that truck. So it's like, hey, let's go get that thing. And we get there, and the battery's dead. It's parked in some random dude's driveway that Big Mike didn't know.
Oh, my.
We're just sitting here with the jumper cables plugged into it, and it's dead. We're sitting there for 20 minutes just trying to get the charge up enough to
Looks
start.
like you're trying to steal it.
Pretty much.
And then somehow, I think your dad made it convince BJ or somebody did, but BJ's got a massive fear of heights. From a little bit I've talked to him, a little bit better.
He's getting better.
Does he really?
I find it odd. He was never scared of heights until he started working around grain bins. Still baffled on that one.
Or he had $100 on the line,
But he started climbing. Like he brought me tools up to the holding bin the other day.
Wow.
Anyway, so you got it down then.
Yep, did get it down. I mean, it still flies to this day, even without a scratch. I thought she was done.
I had a drone get in a tree one time. Wasn't mine, though. Luckily, it was my nephew's, $100 Walmart
I was
drone.
going to say, is it those little preeny ones? Or is it
Yeah.
like,
Well, I thought, we actually had Brian come film one of our houses one time before we were getting ready to list
No,
it.
you didn't. Brian didn't have a license.
Oh, wait a minute. Some
he
guy
had
that
some
we
other
got-
dude do it.
Some other guy come film it for us. Well, the next house I decided I'm going to try this. He's got this cheap little drone. I'm going to try this myself. Well, the drone went up. It caught the wind, and it went east faster than I could.
Go west.
The wind was carrying it east or faster than the drone could go west. So needless to say, I watched that. It went for about a quarter mile till it hit the woods.
Oh, wow. Okay.
whoa.
And it hit, and there's a big old clatter, and then she dropped. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm buying him a drone. And I go over there, and when you know it, I popped a few things back in place. You'd never known it hit a tree.
Did you tell him?
Yeah.
Okay.
He didn't care. I mean, he really didn't. I don't even know if he used it or not. But I told him, I said, if it doesn't work, I'll buy you a new one. But it worked fine. I was like, I guess it's tougher than it looks. But it literally fell 20 feet to the ground.
So my nephew flew my drone into a tree.
I thought Mike Les flew your drone into a tree.
Well, he flew it into an electric line before that. It survived the electric line fine. It did not survive the tree. It cracked like the board in it, and it didn't do anything after that. So the replacement is what I have now, and the gimbal motor's screwed up in it. Like, it doesn't work right. So I think I'm going to buy a Phantom 3. Or not a Phantom, Maverick 3.
Oh, Maverick 3. They're nice drones.
Yeah, they also raised the price $400.
Only $400?
They're $2,200. Mavic Pro used to be $18.
I thought they're more than that even.
Inflation.
I guess. Freaking Chinese. They have this theory they're getting these drones to film images of the United States, and they're mapping us.
I was going to say they're all hacked anyways, probably.
They know exactly what they're always watching.
Yeah.
Yep.
We got a neighbor that says every morning he goes out.
Does he have a tinfoil hat?
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
is it Big Mike?
time. No. He goes out in the morning. He lives in his cabin out in the wood. He goes out every morning, takes a leak off the front porch, and flips off the government up towards the sky. He was dead. He was serious as a heart attack, too, when he said that.
So is this a new neighbor?
Yeah. We just moved. I mean, we've known him for a long time, but it just cracked me up when he said it. He was serious as a heart attack, too. Like, yep, I'm going to let them know what I think of them. Okay. I'm sure they're like, wait for it. Here he comes.
It'd be hilarious if there really is some dude in a bunker somewhere going, hey, Jeff, come here. Here he comes. He's taking a piss. Watch this.
Watch what he does.
Told you. $20.
Like clockwork.
Oh, that's a good one. That's funny.
Oh, man.
So in the part of Iowa, back to the guest. So
Hey,
Forgot I
by
was
the
here.
way,
so you live in town, right? Speaking of taking a leak off your porch, how does that work there?
So actually, my backyard's a cornfield. So
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you lived in like a subdivision or something.
I do. It's basically, I mean, that cornfield's going to be gone in 2 years.
gonna be houses. Mm-hmm. That make you sad?
Yep.
Oh man.
I enjoyed, the 3 times a year. You get one guy comes into vertical till, plant and spray. I enjoy them. I just sit in my back porch and watch them.
So, you choose to live in town, or is that just a?
If it was all of my choice, no. But I
Okay.
know my wife was, especially when we moved back to the Quad Cities where we're from, or where we live now. When we moved back from Des Moines, I mean, it was she was completely against living in the country and whatnot.
Okay.
I think, our farm's 50 minutes away from where we work. It's 45 minutes away from our house right now. So I don't think it's ever feasible realistically to live on the farm. But I think when we choose to build in the next 5 years or so, it'll probably be, somewhere out in the country because, she wants to have a garden. She wants to do all this fun stuff. And I'm like, sure, I hate traffic.
Yeah.
So how is the city living?
It's just like Green Acres says it. So, you want me to start singing for you, Brian?
No, I don't.
I
No,
don't want you
we're
to
good.
either.
We got it. You can Google Green Acres if you don't know what he's talking about. You're not missing much.
I'm gonna have to
really
Google that one.
Again, you're not missing much.
Okay, so the reason I asked that is so we moved into a couple of our flips. Moved into them, lived in for a couple of years, and one of them was in town. Worst 2 years of my life. I kid you not. It was just like, and we also lived right by an alleyway where the city trucks would come out the alleyway, look right at our house, and I couldn't do a single thing to that house, and they wouldn't be like, "Hey, you got a permit for that?"
Yeah, that'd be
And
miserable as hell.
it's like, man, and it would literally all it would take me go to the city building, which was a block away, go there, give them $50, fill out this paperwork, and they wouldn't even come look at what I was doing. So, anyways, it just got real aggravating.
And the town he built this in was like kind of a dilapidated town.
I was bringing it back to life, and you'd think they'd appreciate that. It is funny, though, like, I hate to just keep talking about houses, but it is funny how many people that we've like, let's say you have a nice house, and next to you is this old dilapidated house that needs a little bit of TLC, and we come in and we fix it up, and they try to give you trouble, and it's like, wait a minute. I feel like this ups your value of your home. This is like, unless, I don't know, for some reason you don't want it to look good around your house, but anyway, maybe it made their house look bad because now they're not the worst looking house.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like that's a common thing, though. You want your neighbors to be at least, I mean, honestly, you want to be the cheapest one in the block, or at least the worst looking one, because everybody else brings you up. At least that's my opinion.
Well, and this doesn't always happen, but it's happened multiple times, and I was just surprised.
Raising their property tax.
Maybe that's
that's a
it.
good point.
That may be it. I don't know.
Extra $20 a year.
Oh, people like to let you know where the property lines are, too.
I
You do
can
not
imagine
mess with that.
Is it to the point where they're out drawing stakes or lines?
We
in
had
grass?
strings around this one house.
Nice.
Like this type
Were
of
they wrong?
Yes, actually they were. He had us. Well, there was an alley behind it, and we thought the driveway went through to the alleyway, and we thought, well, this is nice because it was a state highway. The main street was up front, and it was a pain to back out into the main street. And we're like, this is great. You can just pull in the alleyway, take a left, you can pull onto the main street. And we bought this house, and we come to start on it, and there's a string from the front corner. So he owned all the way around the house. Well, it turns out that he had it tied to a stake, but there was another stake basically supposed to be in the middle of the alleyway, which obviously wasn't there because it was an alleyway. And we owned to the middle of the alleyway. And he was trying to, and we didn't find this out until we went to sell the house. Of course, he did a survey, and it was like, that old fart got us. But anyway, so.
That butt.
Oh, man. It's just, like I said, most people have been great. Some people love it. They like to come watch, but every once in a while you'll run into somebody that just hates when you fix up a house next to them.
How many do you think you've done?
We're about to sell the 16th house.
Wow.
Yes.
That's impressive for, like, I'm going to say how long?
Started in 14.
Been that long?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I didn't realize you'd been doing it that long.
8 years.
Did not realize that.
Did you, like, what got you in? Like, obviously I know, like, the allure of it, but, like, did you have much experience coming into it, or?
I've always done carpentry.
Yep.
And I've always wanted to do that. I mean, it sounds cool to, like, buy your own house and work on your own stuff. That sounds way better than work. I mean, I don't know. Here I sound like I don't like working for people, but.
Oh, I can imagine. You've worked for me. I wouldn't want to work for people like me either.
Well, Brian wasn't the one that no. But there, obviously, it's one thing to be able to work, have your own business. That's awesome. It's another thing to work for yourself.
Actually, be your own boss.
Be your own boss. Decide what goes where, how much money you're spending. The only downside is it gets really expensive. Like, whenever I'm putting a new vanity in, I'm buying that vanity. So that part sucks. Like, you got to spend a lot of money. When before, I was spending everybody else's money. That made it nice. And I was just worried about getting my labor money.
Marge, this granite would look a lot better in this bathroom.
Yeah. The labor to put that in is really steep.
It's heavy.
And then we just decided, I said, man, we won't, I tell you what, Steve Harvey convinced me to do it.
Steve Harvey of all people.
Like the Steve Harvey.
The Steve Harvey.
I didn't know you guys were close.
We talk. It's kind of a one-way conversation, but we've talked. I mean, he's talked to me. Anyway, so he had this video, or he had this little bit of a motivation speak, and he basically talked about you'll never know if you can fly until you jump.
Wow.
Like off a cliff. He's like, and you may get beat up a little bit on the way down. He's like, but you'll never know until you jump. And I told her, I said, we'll never know if we can make this a go until we actually do it. Like, there's no.
I just want to back up a second on that. You'll never know you can fly until you jump off a cliff. Did you just say you only get beat up?
You may get beat up a little bit on the way down.
Maybe
get beat up on the way down. But
cliff we talking here?
Well, I'm thinking a cliff, so it's at least, there you go.
And he had that likened to quit your job and start a business. That's what he's talking about. Like, you will never know if you're successful in that business until you jump, until you commit. Like,
wonder how many people took that advice and then actually jumped off the cliff.
Probably more than we'll ever know.
If they did, they probably shouldn't have been starting a business. Anyways.
No, not. So do you ever regret it?
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. There are days, okay, I will say there are days where I wish I could go to 9 to 5 and come home and have evenings. And it's the same way for you guys. Brian, whenever it's harvest, you work long days. There's the times where you're kind of in between, like, harvest. For me, it's in between projects. Well, I have more time off than if I would if I was doing a 9 to 5. But then when I am, like, busting my butt trying to get something done because I have a deadline, or, like, for you, harvest, it's like, man, it would almost be easier. But, no, I wouldn't trade it. The freedom that comes with it, I wouldn't trade that for nothing.
I can identify with that.
And I feel like the only thing that would change my mind is if some reason, well, I say if the housing market crashed where we couldn't do it, but even if it did crash, I think we could still do it. It would just be at a different level.
Yep.
There's always a house that looks bad that can be fixed up, that can be sold for more, I think. Maybe not as, good. But anyway.
When the housing market crashes, that house that cost you $200,000 now will cost you $50,000.
Right. Actually,
and you'll sell it for $200,000.
I'm hoping for a little bit of a dip because it's kind of nuts right now.
Oh, yeah.
It can't stay like this.
So you're saying you've already sold all your houses you bought cheap.
I need another month. That's what I've been telling my wife. I said, we just need this last sale to go through, and then I need a dip. I don't like to call it a crash because that makes it sound like I'm trying to, crash the market here.
But I mean, like with the interest rates going up, like you can't buy a 30-year or get a 30-year mortgage under 6%. Like when I bought my house a couple of years ago, I think we got like a 3.125 or something like that for a 15-year. And now it's just like the interest rates and everything are going crazy. I mean, something's got to slow down.
That'll kill the market faster than anything.
Oh, yeah.
But I do also think that it'll be a little bit of a snowball effect once it starts going the other way. I just hope it does. I don't know. I mean, honestly, like even in 08, you could still make money in 08, even something like that wouldn't be a bad thing necessarily. But I don't know. I don't want to get people caught on. You do feel bad for the people that are paying premium for houses right now. When that market crashes, they're literally going to lose $100,000.
Well, like the ground I was telling you about today, this piece of ground sold for a lot of money around here, and I was telling Ron, end of the year that ground might not be worth, what they paid for it today.
Yeah.
Normally that's not the case with ground. Normally ground appreciates, not depreciates.
Yeah, we've been in a very, I forget what the word for an opposite of a recession, if it's bull or bear, but we've been in one of those markets for almost 2 years now, and they just said we just got out of it.
Really? In the farmer?
No, just as an overall, macroeconomic scale in the U.S., we've been in, I forget if it's bull or bear, but
bull is up, bear is down.
So we've been in a bull market for the last 21 months, almost 2 years or so.
Really? Even through 08?
No, 22 months.
Not years. I thought you said years. Oh, sorry.
No.
22 months.
22 months. Shortest bull market ever. And we just officially came out of it because I think the S&P or something's going to happen for 90 days.
Well, I think we're in a recession now, technically, aren't we?
We're just starting, aren't we?
Yes.
Something about usually. So the one dude to listen to for news was basically stating that you never know when you're in a recession you never know when a recession is starting till you're in it, because the way that reporting goes, I mean, it's always a quarter behind.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The $6 diesel fuel kind of told me we were probably in a recession.
Well, it's either inflation or recession, and the Fed, they've been taking a really hard stance raising interest rates. Well, that's gonna thin up a lot of cash for a lot. Like nobody's gonna be spending, capital's gonna be down.
Yes. So I've already noticed things like campers and ATVs are like on lots again.
Yeah.
Whenever the government was sending checks out, those weren't there.
Our local shop was out, completely out of ATVs or UTVs.
I'm okay with that because handing out money that's coming out of thin air, never good.
Hey,
probably not the greatest idea.
No.
I think it was a politician the other day said something that we need to restart these stimulus checks. How are people going to be able to afford to live with this high gas? And I'm like,
well,
how in the world?
Job?
Yeah, well,
I seen one. They wanted to send out a gas card. But they
had a chip shortage.
Yeah, there's a chip shortage on the cards. yeah.
Can't even help the people out because we don't have any chips. I saw that and I'm like, can that be? I mean, what is that the same kind of chip?
I guess.
Oh my goodness, we're in such a mess. But yeah, to me, it's like what? I guess for me, I feel like we're here partly because of those checks. I don't know.
100% agree with you on that.
I think you talk coming out of the shutdowns. With the check, I mean, there's just a combination maybe, but it's like, how can you think that let's print more money to help these people because they can't afford it? It's like, how in the world are you supposed to be somebody that's helping run this country?
Well, just look at people fighting for higher wages. I think it's hilarious that people at McDonald's wanted $15 an hour. Now when you go to our local McDonald's, there's like 4 computers you can order at, and there's half the people working there, and the people that do work there work like 3 hours a shift. Hey, you're getting your $15. You're still making $45 today.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's half of you.
And it's going to drive the mechanization. It's going to drive, businesses are businesses. They're going to do what's best for their bottom line, or their shareholders.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what they do. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Manufacturing companies are going to look for ways to make it more autonomous.
Yeah. Robots. Yes. All that stuff. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And I think that drive. Well, I always why are we going from 750 to 15? Why the jump? I've never understood that. Why and also one argument I've heard and I feel like this is a good one is if 15 works, why not 30? Like if that actually works, if you're that confident that you're going to say you need $15 an hour minimum wage, why not 30? Because think of how much better people could live on $30 an hour versus 15. But I think to me, it doesn't work like that. Like you can't just make somebody pay more for labor and not expect to come back and bite you in the butt.
When you raise the bottom, what's going to happen to your, like, I'm not going to call them middle class or middle wages or anything, but like your skilled workers, like your firemen, your ambulance, your teachers, or whatnot.
Well, yeah, if you're working at a factory.
Well, let's say you're making 20, 30, 30
well, a lot of factories
around
here used to start off at $18, like for your first few years, and now the kid working at McDonald's from high school is making almost the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In an air-conditioned building.
Mm-hmm.
With very little responsibility or like, I mean, I wouldn't want to work there. I'll be honest with you, but
then you get on the flip side too is we can't find people to work. The unemployment.
I say try getting someone to bale hay when they go to McDonald's and sit in the air condition and go eat ice cream cones when their boss ain't looking.
Yeah. We used to do that for $10 an hour. Like
you got $10 an hour for baling hay.
You got paid.
Well, I did get paid. Well, so the guy we worked for growing up,
$10.
Yes.
I baled hay for $5.
Oh well.
I got bitched at for drinking his water in his fridge too. Yeah, Tom, it's
stroking
only
the barn
100
for you.
degrees out here.
What, you working for your dad?
No, wasn't Dad.
Oh, it wasn't. Oh.
This is a neighbor, good friend of Dad's.
Okay. Well, we did construction, and we worked for this guy, and every morning, during the day, one of us would stay, and his boy would drive the tractor, and they'd bale like 6 wagon loads of hay. And then every morning before we'd go to work to our job site, building pole barns or whatever, we would unload. The whole crew would just unload all the hay, and then, so anyways, that's how that worked out. So he basically just paid us what we normally would pay us on the job. We were just working for him at his farm, and then we went to the job site.
It's the way to do it, because stacking hay bales in barns is by far the worst thing to do when you're baling squares.
Hated it. I would dream of hay bale strings. Like, literally, I dreamt, I don't know what I was doing, but I dreamt hay bale strings. So tired.
Hurt your hands.
Yeah. And he had the bales were 60 pounds, so he didn't have no light bales.
Ooh,
like
he had the big ones.
Yes.
So the guy that we always baled for, he would bale all the straw and then hay, and it was always wire, and they're always damn tight.
Wire's the worst.
You couldn't ever get you couldn't wear gloves because you could not get your hands under the wire to pick the bale up.
Yeah. I will say another guy, though, would bale for that I feel like is almost worse, is he would bale all this trash grass. There we go, there's another one. All this kind of like just crepe grass, or I don't know, just grasses. And it's real slippery anyways, but then he would have his tensioner so loose, you'd pull the bale out of the baler and you'd set it down and it would just like buckle into you and it just poof. And then if you weren't able to get it stacked, it would like, you'd have a nice stack going, all of a sudden the stack would just go flop. And it's just like when you're on a wagon bouncing around the field, it gets so frustrating. Yeah, these bales were light, but man, you couldn't stack them. They would not stay.
God, I remember being a kid and I was baling for my dad's buddy. I bailed for him every year, like probably from 13 to 17. Probably until I was old enough to drive somewhere and make more money doing less work. But I remember sitting on the back of this wagon. I mean, it was like today. I mean, it's hot, it's humid, miserable. Perfect time to be on a hay wagon.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm baling straw for him, and I'm trying to make money to go on vacation. I'm like, how much money have I made? Yep, $42. Okay. We're going nowhere. We're not doing shit. It's terrible.
So how old were you at this time?
I mean, like I said, from like 13 to 17.
Okay.
Old enough to know better, but not old enough to get a job.
Right, not old to get to work, yeah.
I remember being 13, the first year I bailed for him. This older guy I went to high school, or he was in high school. I was probably in 7th grade at that time. Him, his buddy, and this girl were the other 2 people on the crew. And me and this kid my age are like throwing bales on the elevator. And, we're out there sweating our asses off. And we finally get all the bales on the elevator, and the 3 come out of the hay mound. And the girl had gotten really hot and taken her shirt off. Well, she had a sports bra on, and looking back, it covered everything that needed to be covered. I mean, hell, Kayla does not dress provocatively, and it covered more than her bikinis. And I just remember thinking, she don't have a shirt on. Hey, Dad. I was hooked after that. I was coming back.
And you're like, hey, I'll do it for $2 a bale. Oh, man.
Good times. Now, do you guys still bale little squares?
For once every 4 years. Basically, we fill the barn, and we don't bale until we still got our old one from the 60s sitting back there, but about once every 4 years.
So is that just for like feeding while they're calving and stuff like that?
That's exactly right, yep, because we stuff them in the hay lofts, and it's just much easier just to, hey, calves need a bale or whatnot, just go throw them down from the barn.
Yep. Is that like a weekend you try to be like going?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Haven't done it in the last 8 years, and I remember I did it and never want to do it again.
Yeah. How many bales we talking here?
Oh, not that much. So we actually don't have the wagons that you have to manually stack.
You have a stacker.
Yep. Well, actually, it just hooks onto the back and it's just a chute. It's just basically a metal gate with just tubing, and it's just a chute that the bales push themselves up and just eventually fall in. So all you got to do is just unhook when they're full, drive it up to just drive it out the barn, and then you unload in the barn's the worst part.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. We're mostly round bales, and I do not regret ever moving to that. I think.
So I would do squares, but I would definitely have one of them things that go in the front of a skid steer, like where you accumulate them, or what, I don't know. Are they called an accumulator?
Yep. Yeah, so you get an accumulator that basically it's actually a really slick design where, it just got different chutes and whatnot. It lays them in a row of 15, and then you have that, like you said, that crapple that goes in the front of a skid steer.
Yeah, I would do that. I'm not walking through fields throwing bales on wagons anymore.
No thanks.
No. I do wish one of the neighbors did that just so kids around here could. It's like my nephew. He's never done any kind of manual labor, but he played football. And I'm like, well, he's played football. It's hot. He got in a grain bin and lasted like 5 minutes. I'm like, what are you going to do when you go play football? He goes, that's different. I'm like, no, you're wearing a helmet and pads. It's hotter.
It's true. Well, so like, what happens to like all the horse people? Who gives them hay?
I don't know where they get theirs. They don't bale it. The guy that farms for them, he round bales for them, but I don't know where they get their squares.
There's your money opportunity, Brian.
I am not square baling. I'm out. Nope. If it can grow hay, it can grow corn.
That's a good point. Well, you mean you got your little mound that you took me up on the rocks over, though? That was a perfect little 1 acre hay patch.
D8's there to move it.
Oh.
Making it farming ground.
Yeah, it's going to be flat here in a couple of years.
Oh, man, I can't wait to see that. But, yeah, nope, small squares, hard pass.
Yeah.
So do you guys do just rounds then, or big squares too?
Yeah, mainly rounds.
Okay.
We did big squares once, like 8 years ago or so, but they're just the biggest thing. Round baler's cheap. It's 60. Well, it used to be 60 grand, or in a large square baler's well north of 100,000. So it's much more economical to have a round baler.
Oh, so you're talking to big. I'm just catching up. Sorry, I went to the bathroom. Oh, you're out of toilet paper, by the way.
Okay. Do you need socks?
Brian will come help you if you need.
No, I actually just had to blow my nose, but I just noticed you was out. But anyways, so you were talking those big, like, how big are those?
The biggest they make are 5 foot wide by 6 foot in diameter.
Yeah, huge square bales. Okay.
I think 6 foot wide, 5 foot in diameter. It's one of those two. It's 5 by 6.
Yeah. So what kind of hay do you guys usually make for the kind of operation you're running?
Yep. So I don't know what our numbers are, but we're around a little around 100.
No, I mean, what kind of hay are you growing?
Alfalfa.
Okay.
I don't know what type of alfalfa or anything, but it's just.
Yeah, I'm not looking for that nerdy of an answer.
I wouldn't have
I
it
sat
for
beside a guy in a feed store on a flight once, and he did not like knowing that kind of crap. But he said the customers they're always barrel racers.
They need to have the pristine quarter.
Oh, they wanted to know the protein content. He said they want to know this. They want to know where it's grown at and all this crap. He goes, it's alfalfa. This is the price. You could take it or you could leave it.
It's like that one hay farmer we was working for. We built a barn for him, and somebody asked him like something about the moisture content of the sand that we was putting in the barn. Because he put sand in his barns to stack pallets on. I guess it's better than concrete. I don't know. He's like, what's the moisture content in that? And the guy holding the sand's like, I don't know. Whatever the good Lord put in it.
Yeah, they're just.
I just said 12. 12.
Yeah. It's a good guess.
Somewhere in there.
Some people are just too damn particular on that. And it's always the horse guys. Always horse guys.
Well, I wonder if they're like looking for they need this much protein, they need this much whatever.
Oh, I'm sure, but I don't know.
They read a book.
I mean, it's the same way for, like, I don't have any kids or anything, but I would assume, people are paying attention. Oh, my baby needs this much formula or this much whatever for X amount of time. And
yeah, people get crazy about everything. I mean, so my daughter has goats this year, first time. We had to go into a spring weigh-in for the fair, and I pull in there, and these goats are tiny at this point. Like, they're basically the size of a beagle. I mean, they weigh 23 pounds apiece. So I literally threw them in a dog crate, strapped them down to the back of my pickup, and went in there. Now, it's also the pig weigh-in, but it's pigs, goats, and lambs. And I pull in there, and I'm seeing, like, trailers that look like I'm going to guess some of these trailers are probably $50,000 rigs. I mean, they've got lights everywhere. They've got chrome wheels. They've got names. And I was like, what the hell? Like, this is 4-H. Like, what are you going to do with it? Like, you're showing a pig. Like, you're showing a pig.
at the county fair.
Yeah. Like, what happens next year when little Johnny is 20? What are you going to do with this then? It's not like there's a career in showing pigs after this. People are pretty nuts about that crap. I've seen everything, though, in that. People like me in a dog crate in back of a pickup. I seen one dude had his goats in his minivan. No crate whatsoever. They're just running rampant through this minivan, shitting everywhere. And then you got people with like $50,000 trailers. Yeah.
Now that'd be something to see, is hauling your goats to weighing into the old town and country right there.
Oh yeah, it's what it was, the town and country too.
Of course it was.
Yep.
I'm guessing the people with the big fancy trailers probably have other animals. I don't know.
I
don't think so. I don't think so. Like I think they just hit the show circuits hard. Like pig showing is getting big. Like I mean, steer showing's the same way.
So you don't have to only go to your county fair?
Yeah, you can go to open shows. You're not selling the animal, and I don't know if there's cash purses at them or not.
I would assume there'd have to be, because there's a lot of money. You got transport, feed, and
people are like nuts. Like you ain't making any money doing that shit.
No, not
like a state fair.
I don't even know if there's any money in state even.
I think the only people that auction at state are the two winners, like Grand and Reserve. I think those are the only two animals that sell. I think.
But if you win,
you're usually getting a lot of money.
Yeah. Typically, there's that.
I mean, a steer at the county fair around here, like the Grand Champion, is going to sell between $8 and $10 grand. At the state fair, you're probably talking over 20.
Yeah.
But that calf probably cost $8 grand, just the calf.
And you're taking a risk at that point.
Yeah, you ain't doing it for money. Like,
so you're saying there's no money in it then, really?
Not when you're trying to win. Like we are not taking that approach. Like I want 4-H to be what 4-H is supposed to be. I want my daughters to learn, and my son to learn responsibility. I want them to learn, like, hey, you're putting this money in this to make this much money. We're making money here. We're not going to win trophies. We're going to raise production animals. That's how I'm looking at it.
It's work ethic. It's real life. I mean, it's.
Now, don't get me wrong. The people that are winning are working their asses off, or their parents are. Yeah. Someone is working their asses off in that equation. Because when I showed cattle, I mean, one year I bought an expensive calf. I paid $2,000 for this calf. In my definition, that was an expensive calf. I made exactly $22 when I sold that calf for a year's worth of work. Terrible investment.
I was going to say, an investment to profit ratio is not that good.
No. After that, I was like, give me the cheapest one. We're going to pour some corn to this thing. We're going to get it real fat, and I'm going to sell it for the same price I sold this one for.
With way less risk involved. That calf could die.
Very true.
True. It could be so wild you can't even show it. And then you don't get sold. That's a fact.
I did not know that you had anything to do with cattle at once, Brian.
Yeah, I took cattle all through 4-H.
Wow. Where'd you guys have them at?
Well, it used to be my man cave, but there's a building right beside my house. It's kind of dug into the hill. That was the cool room. Yeah. So I was getting ready to say, when you're trying to win, your cows live in air conditioning.
Really?
Yep.
So they don't grow.
You gotta grow that hair out.
Okay.
So riddle me this. This has nothing to do with beef production whatsoever.
No.
You're trying to make this cow look like a block when it's walking into the ring. And to do that, you're filling in all of its holes with hair, basically. And it's big. Like, if you're trying to win, you're washing that cow every day. You're training the hair. And I ain't kidding when I say you're combing it a certain direction.
Wow.
Kind of up and out. So that way it grows a certain way.
Wow.
Like, it gets ridiculous.
Yeah, I guess I never knew that.
Oh, yeah. But we ain't doing that. Nope.
Not happening. Is that why you got the goats?
That's why we got. I said goats or pigs. I preferred pig because I took a pig too. You can do as little with a pig as you want to do. They can literally sit there and eat all day, and shit all day, and you give them water, and they will live. And then when you show them, you just chase them around with a cane. You just hit them with that cane. You don't have to know what you're doing.
The expectations of a pig are probably a little bit lower than a cow as far as looks and act or
manners. No. You still want them to look a certain way, and people still pay stupid amounts of money for it. We're probably pissing somebody off right now. But
is it the tail that they got to have the certain way?
They want them to look boxy, too, I think. I don't know. It's...
I figured a pig would be nice and round would be what I would be looking for.
No, you want it to have muscular flanks, and
I'm gonna go sign up to be a judge.
Yeah, good on the people that show animals. It takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication, but it is not for any of us.
Nah, not for me.
Yeah,
I don't want to be tied to a feed schedule.
No,
like we used to go get a certain feed. We would take our own corn to a feed store, and they'd mix it all for it. Like, fuck that, ain't doing it. Nope.
Man, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah. So being on a on a beef farm, like, do you're family members? Do they show anything out of the herd? Or
They do. Yep.
they do any open shows or just 4-H?
I think, I forget what happened. But I know they do local and county fair. I want to say they did state last year or a couple years ago. We do it on occasion, but it's more just for, like you said, the responsibility. It was my cousin who was the one that showed. She just graduated high school this last year. She showed up a steer at the county fair, and she's not as involved in the farming operation and whatnot. She's going to school to be something smart, something I don't know, something smarter than what I can do.
Brain surgeon, huh?
Probably. Who knows? She's a smart cookie.
Yeah.
But she just did it, I think, mainly because I think she wanted to be involved in it. She's always had a love for cattle, and her steer was honestly like really tame, really nice. The only one in our herd that'll literally come up to you and almost be like a dog and like kind of nudge you a little bit. Hey, come pet me, peasant, type of thing.
Oh, we had one of those. I had to shoot it because Dad couldn't. It became a family. Like, we had it to grow to eat, right? Yep. Well, it became a family pet. It was so tame. It would come and rub on you.
Now we've went there in the show. I had to shoot it. Dad couldn't.
You said there were no rules. It was hard for me. It was very hard for me to,
Now, how old are you at this point?
16, 15, 16.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, you get it, though. Cattle, they become part of your family. I don't care if you have 1, 5, or...
I'm going to be honest with you. Like, as I get older, I get softer. It would be hard for me to grow something knowing that I'm going to take it, somebody's going to eat it. Man, I don't know. Like,
you got to be kind of callous to it the whole time.
Well, at 6, as a teenager, I was pretty callous, but I don't know if I could do that today.
So, Emmy's goats, we went there. Now, these goats are cheap goats, and that was our intention the whole time. We know we're not going to win. We don't know shit about goats. We ain't trying to win. Like I said, just trying to, have the experience. And Kayla goes to her friend and says, like, they raise goats. I'm like, we want the biggest asshole goats you got. Like, we don't want them to look pretty. We don't want them to be nice. We want Emmy to hate these things so that when they get sold, she's ready for them to be sold.
Yes.
We walk out of there with 2 goats that are bottle babies. Mama died when she gave birth, and they've been bottle babied and hand-fed and held and all this.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, I'm like, how many dollars in therapy is this going to take?
Is that part of the plan is to get your child used to, I don't know what you would call that, raising something and then letting it.
Oh, I think every 4-H kid, their first year especially, is probably crying when they sell their animal. I cried.
Yeah.
I just had a pig.
Yeah.
It just pooped in the corner all done.
Did you name this pig?
Oh, I named every one of them.
Nice.
That's where you get in trouble. Ours had a name. It was called Naughty. It's just because he was always getting in trouble.
Yep, got in trouble, got shot.
There
Capital punishment there.
Don't
what?
mess with Monroe. Got it.
Yeah, absolutely. We had enough of that one.
Yeah, I think 4-H. I mean, I showed. Oh, shoot, I think I only did chickens was my biggest thing because, like I said, I lived in town for the most part. I never lived on our farm, but by God, I wanted to show something my senior year, so I bought this little thing. I don't even know where we got it, but this little cage or whatnot. We kept 4 chickens in there, and I tell you what. Chickens, I don't know if you guys have ever been around it, but if you...
I don't think I get emotionally attached to a chicken.
You don't get emotionally attached, but you get more or less repulsed because you guys haven't been around a chicken in confined spaces, especially, you shut your... They lived in our garage, middle of summer. Just imagine that smell you had walking into your house. Mm-hmm. Chicken shit is one of the worst smells.
Oh, it's strong. Yes.
Got a high odor.
Yes.
A lot of ammonia in that.
Very, very high. And I had the bright idea that I just wanted to keep it in my family's garage. Somehow they let me. I showed chickens, but my God, was I glad to get rid of them.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a chicken fan.
It just teaches you. I mean, it teaches you that responsibility, like Brian was hinting on and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's teaching you more of those real life skills, and people need to eat, and that's what.
Well, one thing about it, I remember. So my brother showed cattle too, and we're 12 years apart. So his weaning years in 4-H, I'm just starting to have memory. I remember this, and I remember we were sitting there eating a cheeseburger for lunch. Mom cooked burgers. And I'm talking to BJ about his cow. And I don't remember what the heck the name of it was. He goes, we're probably eating last year's. I'm like, But what I'm saying is, whenever I grew up and went to college, I had no misconceptions on where that food came from. Yep. And I don't think any 4-H kid, they all know these things.
Well, I was wondering, do you think some parents don't tell their kids what happens?
Oh, yeah. Dude, on YouTube, I hear people tell me, why do we even need farmers? We can just get food from the grocery store. Crap like that.
You got it. No. Is there? I thought that was a joke. I mean, come on.
No, it's
people cannot.
100% not a joke, and that's kind of it's a sad fact of life. I mean, it's just that's why it's important to get information out there like that, because that is a very, I wouldn't say it's a common thing. I really hope it's not a common thing, but it's a very real thing that people think that their food just magically shows up.
You wouldn't believe how many people think chocolate milk comes from a chocolate cow.
I thought it came from the bull.
No.
Hard pass. It comes from the black and white cow. The brown cows is what actually does that.
Yeah, Jersey cows.
That's exactly right.
But are those people talking about other foods versus not meats?
Oh.
Like you can go to the grocery store and buy something that wasn't living at one time. You can buy plant, like if you're a vegetarian, I guess, or a vegan or whatnot.
Well, you can also buy the amazing Whopper.
Right, yeah. To me, if somebody actually went to a store to bought a hamburger or bought meat and been like, yeah, I'll just go there because I don't want an animal to die, like, that's pretty far out there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you're that naive, you're way out there. Like, you need to get on a farm and look at some stuff and figure out what it is.
But think about the people that only have grew up in the L.A., the New York City.
I guess you're right. I guess growing up in a country, like, you just don't realize what people are not exposed to, I guess.
Ron, on your YouTube channel, like, showing the cattle and stuff, do you get some of those kind of comments often? Do you get some hate comments from time to time?
I do, and people, like, they think that, we do get quite a bit of flack. Well, not quite a bit of flack, but we do get some flack from it because they just see, they see this fenced in. They're
not free range.
That's exactly right. They picture cattle being, living wild, roaming out in free. But well, in reality, yes, we let cows out in our pasture. We have, a typical cow on our farm is they're around our farm for about 18 months to 2 years. So they're born, they're with their mom, they're out on pasture for the first year of their life. And when they're out on our pasture, it's ground that we cannot farm. It's like the trees and whatnot that you have around here. It's ground that we physically could not rip up and grow plants on there. It's either going to be put on cattle or it's going to go barren. So the cattle are serving a purpose because they're keeping the timber in check. They're managing it. They're getting resources from it. They're growing it. They're eating the grass and everything like that. So we're getting something from them.
My grandpa always said when you have cattle, you're making money while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Except when they get out, because then you're always working.
If they get out while you're sleeping, that's bad.
But
then you're losing money.
Yeah.
You're probably eating your corn, too.
Your money is going down the road, Grandpa.
Then you want to send them down the road for sure. But so for the first year of this calf life, he's with their mom on pasture and whatnot. But even when they're on pasture, we have shelters up for them. And guess where they want to go during a bad storm, during a heat, anything like that? They want to go in the shelter.
Right.
So then after a year or so, we wean them just because we got to keep the cycle moving. Mom's got to be basically prepping for the next calf. We wean them, put them with the feedlots. And even if we let them out on pasture and whatnot, we could let them go free range, but guess where they're going to end up being? They're going to want to go back to their shelter. They're going to go back to their water. They're going to want to go back to their food that we give them every day in our regimen. And we, like I said, the cattle are a part of our family. And just about every rancher or herdsman out there will tell you this, that you get attached to these animals. It is definitely hard. I mean, I find it hard when we have to sell them and whatnot, but you do get attached because they're a living, breathing creature. They have attitudes, they have personalities. There's different types and breeds that you absolutely hate. Charolais, which are the all white ones, are complete jackasses. No one will ever convince me otherwise.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, they could be free rein, but they're going to come back to what is security, just like you and I would. So.
Yeah. See, my father-in-law used to have cows. He's got like 150 acres or something like that where he had some cows. Not a lot, but enough. It was more of a hobby for him. And he's trying to talk us into, because since then it's been just kind of grass.
Yep.
Local farmer makes hay off of it. But he's trying to talk us back into it. And I like the idea of having cows. I love the idea of coming home and seeing cows out in the pasture.
You still like going camping?
Yeah, well, that's my thought. Like, I don't know. That's one of those things where, is it really something that I have time for, that I can commit to, that, And honestly, for us, it'd be like, 10, 15 head. Like, it's just enough to...
Way cheaper to buy a calf from someone and have it butchered.
Well, it's not even like it's not even like we're going to make that much money off of 10, 15 cows, like, versus the labor we'd put into it, right? So, to me, financially, it doesn't make sense, but I don't know, just like...
Tell him to buy the cows and you'll look at them for him.
Well, what's funny is he had cows, and he did construction, so he was gone during the day. His dad took care of him. Well, his dad got older. He's like, I can't do this no more. You got to get rid of those cows. Well, he got rid of them. Then he retired, and I told Tiffany, my wife, I said, well, why don't he get cows and he can take care of them? And then after, he doesn't want to do it anymore, then we can get, like, he's retired. Like, I'm still working. Like, you're the one who's got more time. But anyways, he's trying to, want us to do it. But would you do it, I guess, if you could only do 10, 15 cows or somewhere in there?
Well, I actually just about was going to do that. I was looking at purchasing a piece of ground that, in our area, it's in order to make any piece of ground in our area work, if it's got any sort of timber on it, you have to raise cattle on it to make it cash flow, to make the payments somewhat work.
Okay.
So, but you hit the nail on the head exactly, that cattle are not a, planted in May and come back to in October type of thing. Like it's you got to check them at least once a week if you're being diligent about it. I mean, it's definitely challenging. It's a lot of work, but you can find it rewarding. It just depends on if you want to put the time in.
Okay.
There is a lot of benefits with it.
Like I said, I love the idea of it. I just don't know. I mean, if I were to do it, I would put up a pretty good fence. I put up because there's no fence left. They took it all down, so I had to put up all new fence. It'd be a big expense up front, but I just don't know if I have the time to commit to making sure that.
See that freezer over there?
Yeah.
It's got the only cow you'll ever see on Brown Farms.
Well, we know where Brian stands on this one, I guess.
Exactly. But he loves a steak, so I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, I remember when we got rid of the cattle, I missed the smell. I thought it everywhere smelled like cow shit. Like,
yeah.
I mean, so the barn right beside my house, I mean, that was, that was a barn. I mean, there's always cows in it.
I know the smell you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it does actually get used to it. And it's actually like it's a smell you get used to. It's like
100%.
That goes right along with your country living. Like you like that.
Oh,
like,
and whenever I showed pigs, I thought all boots smelled like pig shit too.
Yeah.
Cow shit is good. Pig shit or chicken shit.
So Ron likes shit. In other words,
yeah,
makes sense. He works for John Deere. Anyways,
okay. Well, let's go back to that.
Where's the bell? Where's the bell and the sound effects?
Just try one.
Yep. Yeah, we didn't get that one.
Hey, it lit up.
It
pretty,
doesn't
though.
work.
Oh wait. Oh. Hey, we'll turn that back down. Nope, nothing. Oh, there we go. What we got here? Oh, that one works well.
Okay.
How are you just now finding these?
Well, we've known about them. We just don't ever use them. Oh,
Nope.
nothing. Oh, okay. Anyways, back to the
bird's back.
Back to shit, though. I got a really good shit story. So we had a hired hand on our farm for the last 10 years or so. Basically, so my farm used to be my two uncles ran it for the longest time. My one uncle passed away. We had a hired hand for the first time in a while. Well, a couple of years ago, he was working cattle, sucking out liquid manure, when all of a sudden he realized he did not have his wedding ring on him. The only thing that he was doing was sucking out liquid manure. So like we have every cattle yard, as rain comes in, water's got to run off. We have catch basins, so we got to suck them out every once in a while. So he came to the realization that his ring is at the bottom of about 8 feet of liquid shit. So what he ended to do was he ended up getting waders and a metal detector.
Oh.
Wow. Either a metal detector or a magnet, and spent about approximately, it was either an hour or somewhere between an hour and 2 hours combing through liquid shit.
Did he find it?
He did find it.
Wow.
Lucky guy. And it wasn't one of these plastic wedding rings, too. It was like his legit wedding band. So.
I look, it had been tungsten and it wouldn't have stuck or something like that.
At that point, sorry, honey, I'm getting a new one.
Hey, just get tattooed. You don't have to worry about it.
Hey, that's a good point.
If you lose that one, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I lose this one. Honey, I got some bad news.
I can almost did that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, you lost a tip.
Yeah,
what did you do to that?
The tip. So for those of you guys you can't see, I did.
He's got a short ring
finger.
finger.
A little nubbin on my left-hand fourth finger.
Okay, let's look at the nail on it, though. The nail is almost full. No, it is a little bit small.
It's rolled.
It's rolled.
It is rolled, but it doesn't look as small as you'd think it would be.
Yeah, and it grows. It's alive and everything. So when I was 2, my dad was a police officer in town. There was a local fest or whatnot. I'm 2 years old. I have no idea what I'm doing. Somehow I managed to open the cop car door on the city police car and shut it on my finger. And you can about tell right here I have a scar right above my last knuckle, chopped clean off.
They sew it back on?
Yep, sewed it right back on. I have all feeling in it. The nail grows. It just looks goofy as heck.
So your goofy finger works better than my non-goofy looking finger that the tendon got cut on.
I feel like that's a very common personality where I actually just work better than he does anyway. But
I thought you was going to say Iowa has. I think it's a green one.
There we go.
You need to use those buttons more.
I think you do.
I thought you were going to say something about Iowa has better doctors or something like that. I figured that's.
Well, I mean, I don't want want to get into a state war here. I don't want you guys to feel bad.
I think we started out like that.
We did start out like that, but I had to set the.
You come in with guns a-blazing.
I had to set the record straight early.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's a Buckeye. I don't know if you were fans of any school or whatnot, but
You probably watch it more than I do.
No, football.
Oh, okay.
I'll watch. Okay, so if the Buckeyes make the playoffs, I'll watch that.
They have playoffs in football? Do they have
Buckeyes?
playoffs?
College?
Yes, yeah.
Top Final Four.
the Buckeyes are like the only ones from the Big Ten, which is the conference that both of our teams play in. The only ones that make it. So
I think
We lost to Michigan last year, though.
yeah,
that made me glad to not be a diehard Buckeye because that would have sucked.
Well, it was the first time in 10 years.
Because
That is true.
I lived 5 miles from the Michigan-Ohio line. You talk about a rivalry between those two. Like, you get close to the
So
state.
I'd always heard the Spartans/Wolverines rivalry was way bigger than the Buckeye.
Well, maybe, but not for the people that live right on the line.
I was gonna say I've heard similar things as Brian, but I've also heard that the Ohio State and Michigan one is really bad.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's pretty big. So I got a buddy. I didn't even call him whenever they lost to Michigan. I'm sure he was just devastated. And it's funny because he has a friend up there in Michigan, and they just call each other probably after every game and just always bull crapping and talking crap. So I'm sure that he got a crap look because it's been a long time since Michigan beat Ohio State.
Oh yeah, long time. I think it was like 10 years.
Yeah, if not more.
You're probably right.
I don't follow enough, but I'm thinking maybe 14 years, something like that. But it was common. You could tell, like, Ohio State was starting to backpedal a little bit, and Michigan was getting better. And you could tell it was going to happen sooner or later because, man, 2-3 years ago, they almost beat them. I think it went to overtime. I was at that game with a whole bunch of people. That was pretty crazy. But, yeah, it's definitely – and somebody said, I don't know, this is probably a stretch, but it's borderline Super Bowl type of not rivalry, but Super Bowl – that's how many – that's how big it is right there at the line. Because
it's more than that because I want to say both Ohio State's and Michigan Stadium hold well over 100,000 people. I think that's the biggest stadiums in the country. I could be wrong on that, but I mean I think you're exactly right. And 100,000 people, that is a ton.
That's just the people that go to the one game. I mean, there's way more of that.
Tailgating and everything else.
Yeah, so.
I think they're nuts.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I've kind of, as I get older, I've kind of realized sports are a little bit of a luxury.
I'll never idolize an athlete.
I don't get the
I
idolization at all. I feel like several years ago I may have, but as I get older, I'm like, man, that's just kind of crazy to idolize somebody or a sport or a team. For example, a team where it has revolving players or coaches is but no matter who is at that team, that's the best player out there. It's like, man, this is our guy. This is him. And it's like,
yeah, I don't understand. So if I'm watching a team, I'm there for the entertainment factor of watching them play a sport. I don't care what their politics are.
Yeah.
I don't care to know what their politics are.
Yeah.
And I also understand that just because they can play a sport does not mean they know anything about what they're talking about.
Yeah, you're right about that. They could be the most uneducated person, but they have a platform. So, but yeah, I don't get the idolization anymore. And to me, it's like, yeah, it's cool. They got a special talent, but you got talents that they don't have.
Yep.
I got talents they don't have. And it so happens
that
skills. Yeah, got skills. And it just so happens that their talent has got them on national TV playing these big games. And my talent has me renovating houses. No less necessary, no less important, really. It's just...
Speaking of big games, let's talk about some refereeing. You kind of alluded to that. In
Sure
fact,
did.
last time I seen you was in Louisville. Actually, I didn't get to see you because you were refereeing a basketball game, I do believe.
That is true. I had to come down 2 days later because of that. Yeah, so, the easiest way to say it is I enjoy getting screamed at because that about happens every night.
by the parents?
Oh, yeah.
So do you just referee basketball?
Just basketball. Yep.
All right.
That's all I have time for.
So, okay, real quick. Is a referee getting screamed at more or less than the coach?
Oh, 100%.
Everything's the ref's fault.
It is?
Anytime a
Okay.
team loses, 100% on the refs.
So,
So help me not get kicked out. What can I do before a ref's going to throw me out?
If you make one-off comments or whatnot, it's the continuous build and build.
So like
and
if I
build.
say, you need some glasses, that's okay.
Oh, I chuckle at those sometimes.
Okay.
Or especially like when you have a conversation with them. Like I'm one yeah, you can heckle me or whatnot, but just don't belligerate. Be belligerent.
Your mom's a whore.
Basically. I have had to kick one fan out at one point. And I haven't kicked anybody out ever except for one fan where basically he was just on and on all night right behind the scores table. So
Did you get the big running?
Oh, I did not. I should have. That was my one mistake.
Oh, you gotta get the theatrics in it.
It was more. So I don't have the authority to kick anybody out. Like so, at any high school basketball game. No. So at any high school basketball game, the referees cannot officially kick anybody out. But what we do is we have, usually the athletic director or somebody.
So that's why a rep from the school usually walks them out. Then.
One or two, yep. Because it's basically like the ref will go to whoever is our designated person at that school, like, hey, this guy's, get him out of here type of thing.
So at our school, one of the guys that used to heckle the refs the most was the president of the school board.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, he always sit right in front of Dad. He's dead now, so we can talk about him.
Of course, perfect.
Yeah, he would always sit right in front of Mom and Dad. He was kind of a dick at basketball games because he would sit there and he would also talk about the players on our team with their parents all around him. Like, how are you the school board president? Like, how's this working out for you?
Huh.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I always wondered how he never got thrown out, and that makes sense now. Guy don't want to, kick out his boss.
It takes a lot to get kicked out at a game, too. I mean, you really
Dad
have to
got
be
kicked
trying.
out.
Whoa.
Kicked out
Oh,
of the game
man,
before.
we got to ask
Okay,
him this
yep.
about this.
It wasn't
Oh.
even anything all that major. He just told the guy, that, dude, you're terrible at this or something along those lines. And
the ref kicked him out for
well,
that.
he's pretty bad at it. Smitty the one-armed bandit, R.I.P.
Yeah, but if a ref is worth their salt, they have to be a thick skin because they're going to take it from the coaches all game. They're going to get – I mean, quite honestly, you're supposed to not even react to the crowd. Sometimes I just, as a referee, you need to be personable because your job is literally to make calls that half the building's going to love and half the building's going to hate. So you got to be able to explain yourself. And, I've had coaches get absolutely pissed at me. But the biggest thing you got to learn is you just got to have a conversation. Hey, this is what I saw. Or, hey, coach, I was wrong on that one. That is my bad. I will do better. Or what did you think about that last one? They'll just absolutely give it to me.
See, I was kind of wondering. It seems to me like as the ref, you should never admit failure. Or like, hey, I might fuck up. Like,
yeah, but
I don't know. I feel like a good ref would. But
who would you rather have? The know-it-all, I was right. I know I was 100% right. When everybody's
yeah, but are you changing your call or is this after the fact?
After the fact.
Okay.
so you don't change a call?
No.
Well, that's
Really?
what I mean. It seems like once you make that call, for it to have any legitimacy, it's got to be final, right?
Yes and no. If it's a pivotal call, I mean, you can. It's rare that somebody's going to come in there and say, "Hey, your call was wrong." But if I didn't have you have to make an initial call. But if I don't have a very good angle of what, I can call my crew in and say, "Hey, this is what I saw. Any objections?" Depending on the type of call, obviously.
So that's what would always burn Dad is referee would make a call, and then the coaches would start arguing with him, and then they'd change the call.
No, you shouldn't do that. Coaches or anything, it should be initiated.
It's almost
by
like
the
that
refs.
ref's reading the room and then reacting.
Yeah, that does happen, but at higher levels that you go, and I mainly do high school basketball right now, but I've been doing that for 4 years. Yeah, 4 years now. At lower level or the higher levels you go, the more self-sufficient you need to be because you're exactly right. I mean, you need to have confidence, or you need to gain the confidence of the people that are watching, that are spectating, or whatever have you. And the only way to do that is to act like you know the job.
Okay, so watching basketball games, it always seems like in the beginning of the game, nothing is a foul.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of leniency. And as the game gets tighter towards the end of the game, you start seeing touch fouls. Like, is that a thing, or are we just imagining that?
I think you guys are imagining. I think you guys are all crazy, but that's just me. No, it really depends on the type of game. Like if I'm reffing JV class A, so small school basketball,
Pretty rough.
There's going to be like so many uncalled travels or whatnot. But if you're reffing like two top high school boys basketball teams, you're not going to call just bumping down low. Like you got to read the game, and that's the biggest thing.
That's why I never could stand, like, when I played and when watching a game, like, if it's a foul at the beginning of the game, it should be a foul at the end of the game. If we're going to play rough, let's play rough. Don't call it on me now, like, that the game's close and there's only a minute left.
Yep, and I would agree with that. And we try to be consistent throughout the whole game because, yeah, I mean, anybody can adjust as the game goes on. But, I mean, like you said, if you're changing it halfway through, especially towards the end of the half or end of the game, I mean, that makes
So do you ever watch any, like, so one time I clicked on a basketball video on Facebook, and now I get a lot of basketball videos in my timeline algorithm and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And they're usually like, is this a travel? And then they'll show the clip. You ever watch any of those?
100%.
How many of them have they said weren't a travel where you're like, bullshit?
Depends on who's doing it. There's a couple YouTube channels out there that I watch, shocker, using YouTube to,
Which ones?
to learn and whatnot.
Balls Life. You ever watch that one?
Oh, yeah, I've watched that one a couple times. I prefer a better basketball official. It's actually a legit,
Okay.
a legit official. He just walks through game calls, and, that's how I learn and whatnot. Because, and that's actually the reason why I'm coming home this weekend. I got 2 different basketball clinics, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I'm basically giving up all this weekend. I haven't seen my wife in 4 weeks. What's another couple of days?
So you're putting on a clinic?
No, I'm attending a clinic.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to basically get better because, I'm young, and that's another thing that people don't really realize is there's a shortage of officials, especially in basketball. The average official in Iowa is mid-50s, I want to say, or so. Like,
you actually got to run up the floor playing basketball.
Mm-hmm. Like, there's not a lot of young officials. So, I am a rarity in that case, but there needs to be more officials getting into it. Otherwise, there's going to come to a point where there's not going to be as many games.
Well, that and you get that high pay.
Here's my average night. So I leave work around 3. I don't get home, depending on how far I drive, anywhere between 10 and there's some places I go. I don't get home till 1 in the morning, and no mileage. Usually get about $100. And this year with gas, we're gonna be barely breaking even.
Oh my! Wow. You must love the game of basketball. That's all I got to say.
And that's exactly right, because I really enjoyed basketball growing up. I wasn't that good. I was only 6'3" when I graduated.
One of those guys wasn't any good. Now he's got to be the ref, get
That's
the power.
Exactly He knows.
I should be a ref.
Yeah.
I have the power.
It's all about that whistle, man. I hope you just now found out about that.
He knows which button it is now.
Next time I come, there's going to be labels on these. And
there's actually stickers you can put over here and label.
Yeah.
Oh,
and you can customize these. Like, we could get audio of you talking and put that on there.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Say something about Ohio.
We should have got us. That's what we should do. Next guest have their theme song, like if they have a YouTube.
Yeah. There you go.
You should have your dad. It's famous quotes from your dad. That's what you need.
There's a lot of them that don't make YouTube.
Can only imagine.
Oh, yeah.
But no, the refereeing, it's I don't do it for the money. It's just not that. I do it because I really enjoy the game. I really enjoy being around it and being able to facilitate it.
So I'm probably the most sports literate person here, especially when it comes to basketball. I know a little bit about football, but not basketball. Do you see, going anywhere with that, or is it more of just a hobby?
It's just a hobby. I have goals in it, just like you do with anything.
Like if you could make it to ref some big games, would that be cool? Would that be something you'd want to do, or not really?
Oh, I 100% would want to do. So, for example, my aunt was a Division I basketball. So, she was reffing. She reffed Ohio State.
I'm guessing they pay a little bit better.
They pay well over $1,000 a game.
Okay.
Plus
travel
and whatnot. Oh yeah, but at that point,
I never played basketball, but I think I can ref.
Hey, just go for broke. Shoot for the NBA.
Oh, you don't even want to know how much.
How much would an NBA?
They have to make enough that they can't be bribed. Think about that. Like, sports betting is a big thing. I'm serious.
Well, there's even scandals out there. I forget the guy's name, but there's a good documentary out there on YouTube that shows it was an NBA ref who was fixing games.
What?
You're getting paid off by the mob to throw a game.
Yeah. It's a lot of money.
Wow.
It could be a lot of money.
Speaking of that, how hard is it to not be biased?
You're a ref your high school?
My high school, no. But I reffed all of our conference schools.
Even if you go into the game with no bias, but midway through the game, this team is just beating this other team up, and they're kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it'd be hard.
These people are not being mean to me.
Yeah, it'd be hard not to stick up for the little guy a little bit, hit the winning team a little bit harder because they're just smacking the dog crap out of them.
You're hitting the nail on the head. And as much as I try to not be biased, that is probably the most biased that I have. Especially because,
you don't want to fix the game. You don't want, kudos to them for being good, but you don't cut them.
Well, usually on that good team.
They're going to earn it.
Usually on that good team, there's going to be one dude with a lot of swagger who's a butthead, but he's really good at basketball.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know.
Well, that's what I mean. It would be hard for me.
Terrible sportsmanship,
to not be
that kind of crap.
Yeah.
No, but you're exactly. It is hard. You got to recognize it. And my first year, I was a shit ref. I had a hot temper. I had probably more technical fouls, which for a technical foul was basically coach being like, "Oh, that was a shit call. What are you doing?" type of thing, like getting all.
Was that flagrant one, or I'm just joking?
Well, so that in high
is
school,
that a thing now?
Okay,
Just
technical. Yep, just slap the T's just like that. But
did you get theatrical?
Oh, you
so
know I did.
Also, you call it on the coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Then he's got to sit down.
Yeah.
Well, who does? The coach?
He's supposed to sit down, or
what if he doesn't?
He'll get ejected on the next one.
Yep. So if you get two technical, you're allowed one technical.
Can't come back for the next game, right?
Yeah, it depends on the state, but yeah. But yeah, like you get basically 2 strikes. 1 strike, you lose privileges. The second strike, you're gone.
So
Wow.
being that close,
that's just per game, right? Resets to the next game. Okay.
so being that close to Illinois, can you ref there too, or is that a state by state license?
It's a state-by-state license. I would have to get certified in Illinois and in Iowa.
So
did
you
do that?
licensed?
What's that?
You're licensed?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
You got to take a class. You got to pay $150 to get certified in one state, in one sport. And yeah, there's quite a bit of, I mean, at the lower levels, you're not doing it for the money because you're, especially this day and age,
So-
isn't it?
You probably know the game of basketball pretty well, inside and out.
I would say, yeah, probably. I would hope to
Here's
say
here's
more than
my
most.
here's my knowledge of the game of basketball. I know how to play cow and horse. You know,
Ooh,
I'm pretty
no
good.
pig?
Yeah,
Oh, come on.
pig's too short. Well, that cow is too, I guess.
Say Monroe, come on now. It's part of that.
It's that Ohio State education.
No, actually, that's
Michigan.
I went to school in Michigan.
Well,
so
not any better.
no, you're right about that.
But no,
Anyways.
it's
So
fun, and I enjoy it.
So in some of them traveling videos, though, where you see someone taking 3 steps, is that legal?
No, not at all.
So there's no gather.
The NBA has different rules than any lower level, and that's why the game
So
is
how many
tainted.
times do you see kids reenacting what they see in the NBA and getting pissed when you call them for a travel?
Way too many than you think.
I mean, is that a
Yes.
legit problem?
Not as much on the 3-step layup type of thing, or like, I don't know if you guys have seen Jackie Moon and the hell.
Oh, tropical.
Yeah, Flint Tropics. What's that?
I want to say Tropical Thunder, another cult classic.
I know.
I know what you're talking about,
Yeah,
Jackie
but,
Moon.
Yeah, but anyway, like it's not the 5 steps or anything like that, or 2.5 steps is what
The
he
Euro
said.
step. They call it a Euro step.
But yeah, like it's not necessarily that, but it's just not really understanding the rules of the game. Like if you do it, so you have a thing. If you pick up your dribble and you jump stop, so you come to a stop, you cannot move any of those feet. I call that a traveling because that is per the rule, but nobody understands that. Or
Like you can't raise one leg to do a layup at that point.
correct, yeah, you can't do any. You can't make any steps from that. That is a traveling, and I didn't understand that rule growing up. That's why I never did jump stops. I got called it a couple times, and I never understood it. So there are quite a bit like that, but kids are getting better and understanding a little bit more of the game.
So how
It's not
often do
happening
you
that
see?
much.
So Dad grew up in the '60s,
Mm-hmm.
like played basketball in the '60s, like short shorts, jock strap kind of days.
Does he still have them?
Oh, I hope not. But in his day, like it was very top of the ball dribbling.
Yep.
And it drives him crazy when he sees someone doing it. Calls it carry. Now, what's the protocols for calling a carry on someone?
Great question.
Because I feel like that's very. I feel like that's going to change person to person
It is
because
gonna
there's no distinct.
It is what most people, I would say I would speak for a majority, most people will call that when the ball pauses. So, like, you can get your hand on the ball, but as long as that ball is moving, you're fine. But, you know, when you get under the ball and you flip it up, that ball doesn't move for a while, that's a carry.
Okay, so like every time I watch, like Steph Curry's a great basketball player, or Kyrie Irving, do things to basketball most people can never do.
Yes.
But every time I watch them, they carry the ball. Then
And, again, the NBA is very different because
it's a market; they're making money.
Exactly. And Monroe's like, sports.
Woo! Go Spartans!
But, no, it's fun. Brian, I think you should be a ref. I could see you dropping the hammer.
I would enjoy it, but I'm not going to do it. I don't enjoy people.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy some people, not all people. So, being a little league dad this year, I had my fair taste of people,
Oh,
and I wasn't even the coach or umpire.
oh, man, yeah.
So
But I'd say probably the funniest thing, though, is so a lot of
that's
the,
what you need to do. You need to start umpiring little league baseball games
I
in
did that at
90-degree
one point.
heat.
They actually paid not half bad. You can make $20, $25 a game. So like you can come through a weekend with $200+ in there.
Oh wow! You only spent 8 hours in the heat and getting bitched at.
I was gonna say, I bet the parents get pretty serious about.
Oh
the little
my
kids.
god!
I mean,
Everyone thinks their kid's the next Derek Jeter.
Yep.
I'm guessing he was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Hall of Famer. No.
Well, if they're little
Babe
like
Ruth.
that, do you? I feel like they stick up for more. Like once the kids, as they get bigger, maybe the parents feel less of a need to be the.
So there's definitely a
Protect him.
difference between going to
Right.
a little league 10U baseball game and going to a high school baseball game.
Right.
No one at a high school baseball game talks. it's pretty quiet.
That's what I mean. It's like he's big enough to stand for himself, pretty much.
Well, they pretty much know that their kid isn't Derek Jeter at that point.
They've given up at this point.
yeah.
Depends on the school.
He's literally just here to have fun. Okay.
Just let him play, okay?
But I do enjoy getting heckled when I'm refereeing, especially because you know I referee a lot of small towns around us, so they actually know the YouTube channel.
You guys with your fancy bear, I'm gonna just gonna go to water bottle.
Crinkle his water. But my favorite thing is when
You get heckled by someone you know.
Well, someone I know or somebody knows me from the YouTube channel. that is some of the things that I enjoy.
Have you heard anybody get nasty with you about the YouTube channel from the refs?
No. For the most part, it's all in good fun.
Okay.
You know, it's mainly the students and whatnot. And some of the students are just hilarious. More they'll heckle the crap out of you. They'll just say, "Hey, your shoes untied," or just some of those like small like stuff like that. It's
Student sections are fun.
Oh yeah. And usually, as long as they're not belligerating or like tearing down the other team, I'm all for it. Get into the game. That makes it more fun for everybody. But.
So, how many games a year are you trying to do? I mean, every Friday, Saturday, are you reffing a game?
Usually 3 a week. So
okay.
It usually goes Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. I'd say it's anywhere from 18 to 22 is what it usually is.
Are you doing girls and boys or just boys?
Girls and boys, I'd say. It just depends.
Okay.
Really, it's hard because, like I said, there's not very many refs, so you're getting asked to do a bunch of games. So there's a couple conferences in my area that we just, hey, we'll do 6 games with you, 6 games with you, 10 with you, whatever it ends up being. But yeah, it's enough where, it's supposed to be the off season where, I'm supposed to be around and hanging out with, my wife and whatnot. But it's fun. I enjoy it.
You got to tell her you're going to take her to Hawaii with that money.
That's a good point. Hey,
It's not going to be a long trip.
Not with the price of gas these days.
We went at the right time. We went last January or so, and I wouldn't want to go back there now.
Yeah.
When we were in Hawaii, we got a note under our door, like third day there, that, hey, starting tomorrow, if you don't have a COVID shot, you can't go to any of the restaurants.
Oh, I bet that was cool.
Oh, there's a lot of pissed off people.
And this was well after COVID, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, this was in September last year.
Seriously.
That's what's crazy about that. Like, just
the crazy thing is,
decided it?
Like, they waited, like, there's no heads up. Like, that's what baffled me.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, people were there that didn't have COVID shots. And, like, they were no longer eating at restaurants.
Wow.
Like, you imagine booking a 10-day trip to Hawaii, only to find out, we're getting takeout from here on out.
Oh, no thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I remember actually talking to you about that before I went. And that was still a thing while I was down there, but only one restaurant that we went to actually followed through with that. And we were like, nope. So I'm glad that wasn't limiting them because, tourism is like for for states and countries similar to that, tourism's a large majority of their income and whatnot. So to lose that would be just hard.
Yeah.
Not a lot of factories out there.
Man, some of the flights, like I've flown quite a bit this winter, and some of the flights you could tell the flight crew was not from a place that gave 3 squirts about COVID. And, like, I remember flying to Commodity, and, they go through with your snacks, and we've got like a 2-hour plane ride. And I drank coffee and ate snacks for an hour and a half because I didn't have my mask on. Nice. It's like, I'm just going to take one little sip, and I'm going to eat a peanut.
I'm still eating.
Yeah.
I'm still eating.
They didn't care at all.
Yeah.
Flight back, sir. Pull up your mask in between sips. Like, you've got to be shitting me.
Have you seen those videos with the guy that has a mask that looks like he's wearing sunglasses and he looks like he's like not wearing a mask? I find that absolutely hilarious. The amount of dirty looks that he gets.
This is a different path we could go down on this. But
It's a whole big rabbit hole.
I seen a dude at the hardware store today rocking a mask. I'm like, dude, I don't know your situation. I can only assume that you're on chemo or something. Otherwise, I have no respect for you.
Hey, we saw out on the highway somebody was pulled over, and as we went by, the driver was wearing a mask as he was talking to the cop.
Of course.
And I'm like, it's got to be an out-of-stater.
I still see them sometimes by themselves wearing a mask in their car.
In the car with the windows up, the air on.
Like, what are you doing? Like,
Logic is not.
I thought Putin killed it. I thought it was over.
Yeah. Well, there can be,
Monkeypox,
in rarer cases, which we may not have noticed before, but could be other situations where they're wearing a mask. Like, I know people wear it for allergies now. Well, actually, they wore it before, but yeah. But I think a lot of it is just paranoia.
Okay. No, I definitely think you're right. And I'm hoping we're past it. Like, it'd be nice to get back to an actual normal sense of normalcy.
I haven't felt unnormal since since August of 2020, in all honesty. Have you?
I feel like March of 2020. That's when.
Well, like craziness was going on though, that whole time.
But they shut down. It's like it's.
Yeah, but we had a mask mandate like
in August.
Probably in August.
Okay.
Of that year.
So you mean after that it hasn't felt normal?
No, like I haven't felt unnormal. Like everything has felt just peachy.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Around here?
No. I feel like nothing's been normal since March. Like, even now, yeah, the COVID hysteria is over, but it's like now we got this inflation. I mean, you just
just look at restaurants. Restaurant
crazy.
hours are so much depleted compared to before that
Yeah,
time.
that's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
Shortage of everything from baby formula to nursery water. The other day I went to get nursery water, and Walmart and Kroger were both out. Water.
Get some spring water.
I got distilled water. I guess it's pretty similar.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what nursery water is.
Well,
It's
they
probably
say
just regular water they bottle up in a different bottle just to get an extra.
it's
$2
supposed to
out
be
of ya.
distilled with minerals added for the baby. So I don't know. That's what it says on the bottle. But anyways, I just find it odd that we got a water shortage here. I know out west they got problems with that, I guess. But
Yeah. Well, I guess some things are a little odd. I might have missed
Well,
on that one.
I guess for me, I just hope this isn't the new normal. Like everybody talks about, well, there's gonna be no normal. Bull crap. Like, there's gonna be a lasting effect of it. But I'm hopeful that we can get back to more what it was like before in 4 or 5 years from now. I don't know.
I sure
Maybe
hope
I could
so.
be wrong. Some things will never go back to normal. But I hope that to me, I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat on, and these shortages are just these shortages. I don't know. I'm a little suspicious. It's like somebody said, "Hey, there's money to be made." I don't know. I'm just like and it's not even like there's shortages now of things that like we've opened the country up a long time ago. Why are we just now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So the one that gets me, like, I know they say that, well, that pipeline ain't going to make any gasoline for a while, okay? But hear me out. Whenever you announce that it's open, there's going to be a lot of speculation.
Yeah.
And that price of oil is going to drop substantially.
Well, sometimes it's not always about what the pipeline does, like you said, what it does to the,
Yeah, I mean, do you think that whenever you shut it down that
it's
day,
going to help.
that it was magic that the price of oil went up?
Yeah.
Come on, like
Well, if you
there's a huge trickle down before that actually affects the supply, but there's some speculation.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Oh, no doubt. And if they wouldn't have shut it down, I don't know, 2 years and 6 months ago, maybe
Right about now, it'd be starting to take. I thought about that too. It's like we're getting pretty close here to where you said it would start actually making a difference. So what about now?
Yeah.
We're
Right when
still
we
just
kind of need it.
Yeah, but yeah, that's just a poor excuse in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Got this gangbuster economy. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and shut this shit right here off.
Wrong
and
one.
we're going to turn this on. And
Yep.
Oh, that was it.
got it.
It's back. Anyways,
He turns the volume down.
wants to be able to hit buttons and not make noises, I guess.
I mean, they're very colorful buttons. That's the
They
first
are.
thing I
They're
noticed.
beautiful. I like them. I like to look at them.
Yeah, I should bring my 9-month-old. He'd have a good time with that. We'd have all kinds of sound effects.
Somehow we can patch in a collar on here. We don't know how to do that,
Wow.
but it can be done.
So I can be like phoning a friend. Like I call Mike last. Like, hey, buddy, you were just on here, so these guys are giving me shit. Like, what? Help me out here. Kid.
Yeah.
So hear me out. We won't say your name, but we'll be like, all right, now we're going to call our random John Deere friend, and we're going to get the real story on this combine over here.
Oh, we got inside information now. We got inside access.
Yeah, you could remain anonymous, and you could tell us what you really think.
For Big Brother who is watching, I have not said anything. Don't fire me tomorrow.
But you should go ahead and listen to the whole podcast just to make sure he hasn't said
Definitely,
anything.
should. And maybe re-listen.
And
to
watch it on YouTube too. Just make sure.
He's actually holding up note cards.
The secret is, I'm just giving away all the secrets.
Got a
on the
red
camera.
hat on.
Oh, man. Well, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we touched on just about everything. Honestly,
Oh, we could probably keep going.
that's true.
I was
could
going to say,
go-
we could definitely keep going.
I mean, I can get Monroe fired up on houses again.
we barely even touched on the green versus red thing. I thought for sure you were going to grill me on that.
Well, do you want to talk about that? I mean, you have case equipment at home, and you work for a green manufacturer of equipment.
That is true. I feel like we need to at least touch on that because I feel like that we gave that cliffhanger at the beginning, and now people are just like, "What the hell? You're not even saying anything."
Yeah.
So I suppose. So I mean, yes, elephant in the room. Yeah, I work at John Deere. That is a very location-based thing. So John Deere, their headquarters is in my hometown, or not my hometown, but where I live right now in the Quad Cities, and it's only 45 minutes from the farm. So it's a very well-paying job, very stable and everything like that. But
So how much make a year after taxes?
north of 10, south of 100.
Ah, shit.
Oh, man.
But you know, on the farm,
1.5. We're going to go with 1.5 mil.
1.5, okay.
1.5 yen, which is about $20,000.
Google's the value of the yen.
And then just on the farm, you know, like I said, we run red. I mean, the biggest reason why is service. I mean, you know this, for example. Any piece of equipment breaks, and you know, and really it doesn't matter what industry you're in, anything breaks.
It will break. Everything will break.
If it is man-made, it will break.
Yes.
So therefore, I mean, service is a big thing for us. So, you know, red and green, they're probably the top 2 in the U.S., I would say. So because we run red, there is 2 red dealers in the same, like, you know, organization. There's another red dealer group another 25 minutes away, and then another red dealer group about 45 minutes away. All in the same vicinity as
Get this
one.
in you so we can get the secrets.
Oh, he's just feeding me.
Keep on chugging.
Oh, we will. But there's 4 red dealership groups all within about the same vicinity as one green dealer.
Wow.
So that makes a huge difference. And the kicker is, I mean, there's 5 John Deere factories all within an hour of me, and there's only 2 green dealerships. I know. It's
Why?
I don't know.
You can't go to the factory and buy anything.
No.
So you have to
Unless
go
you, actually, you can drive your combine home from the factory, can't you?
You actually can't.
They don't do that anymore?
They have to have it on a truck.
I thought they used to do the gold key, like drive it out of the factory deal.
Yep, you still do that. You can drive.
Oh, but you're not actually taking it
You're
from the
literally
factory.
driving from one station to the next, allegedly.
Oh.
So, but
Did they open that up for tours again, or is that still closed for COVID?
I have not heard for sure if the public has been open for tours. I want to say they have, but I'm not 100% on that
I
one.
was supposed to get a Gleaner tour, and it's been canceled twice for COVID. I've kind of given up now.
Yeah, I've tried. I mean, our red one, we bought a new red one last year, and I tried to get a tour, and the same thing. But no, it'd be freaking cool because, like I said, we're only an hour away from the factory or whatnot. So just to drive it home. But no, it's all coming off.
Just think of
trucks.
the YouTube views. Driving my 790 home from John Deere factory.
My most viewed YouTube video is actually on the John Deere Harvester Works front lawn. It was right when the X9 came out.
So did you get in trouble on that one?
I did not. People
Did
wanted
you have
me
to Did you have to clear that one?
I did not clear that one. Well, yeah, I cleared with my boss and say, hey, I'm going to do this here. But I had people that, in my opinion, wanted to get me in trouble because they
From
were
work?
literally going line by line. And I said one thing that wasn't announced yet in the U.S., but it was announced in Europe.
Oh.
So stage 5 emissions. So it's the next, you got tier 4. Stage 5 is the next thing. I said that on there. That was publicly announced. I got that from the website, but they wanted to get me in trouble for it. So I have to be very, very
Monroe,
cautious about that.
The X9 Combine was a top secret project that came out 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
And when it came out, Ron was working with that machine. So the day that it came out, he already had a lot of information on it. So when it was publicly announced, he basically... Did you do a walk around on it?
Yep. So out in front of the factory, when it was publicly announced, that day they brought out that brand new machine and just set it out for the factory for the world to see. So I went out after work, on my own time, in public property, went around and basically filmed everything that I already knew a lot more than I could share, but I basically made sure to look at what was announced on John Deere's website and kind of just conveyed it and say, hey, here's what this is, here's what that is. Trying to stay to the letter of the law, not giving away anything experimental.
I feel like that one was risky.
It was very risky. But, I mean, it was a very, very good video. I mean, it's got 300,000 views or something like that. But it was risky, but it's something that I wanted to do because I was proud of this thing. I've spent the last 5 years of my life working on this thing.
Wow. Okay, so this is cool. Like, I feel like we didn't talk about this enough. Your engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Like, first of all, did you go to school to be an engineer, of course, college?
Yep.
Did you go to school specifically to be, like, what would you call that, ag engineer?
They have ag engineering, but so some people say I go to the medical school. So, I mean, Iowa State is the big, ag school.
Yeah, you look like a brain doctor. Neurosurgeon.
I will gladly not work on anything of your body. Just because, they wouldn't trust me. Anyway, so I did. So they have ag engineering, but I just got a regular mechanical engineering degree. That is just a general. You can work on.
So it's a mechanical engineering degree that you have. Okay.
That's probably a very common one. Probably one of the more common ones of people in the ag engineering sector.
Okay.
So I got that and then started full time for Deere. I had 2 internships. I worked in the factory for one. Actually, I worked in the factory for 2 of them, and then I got hired full time in 2016 when I graduated.
Okay, so you got the mechanical engineering degree in mind to work on ag equipment, though?
Originally, I had no idea what I wanted to do. But then comes my sophomore year of college, I was working on the farm back in the fall and whatnot, and I was like, you know what? I really enjoy working on the farm. Why don't I actually make a career out of this? So and then I was like, okay, John Deere is a big hire of, people from my school, let's try to get a job there. So yeah, I didn't really go into school knowing what I wanted to do, but farming was a big passion of mine, and it just kind of fell into place.
Cool. And then, so you said you was working at Combine for 5 years. So he could tell us a whole kinds of secrets about what he's working on now. Anyway,
I really wish I could.
So you know, or a lot of what goes into a Combine well before it's even announced. That's crazy.
So when that X9 was pre-release, there was a lot of speculation about it.
Okay.
And there were people, like, when they test a Combine, it's still in a field. It might not be marked in any way, shape, or form. So we had a test Combine that was unreleased last fall. From the road, that Combine just looked like any other Clost Combine. It actually got released now. You said that. What's it called? A Tryon or something like that?
Tryon.
So if you're wondering what Combine we were in last fall, I couldn't show you. It was a Clost Tryon. Tryon, single rotor Clost Lexion Combine,
Still
basically.
puke green and white.
Doesn't puke grain, no.
That's a good point. They are corn-eating machines.
Oh, you heard it there. Anyways, basically, if you didn't know what you were looking at, you wouldn't understand. You wouldn't realize that was a different Combine. Like it was
doesn't have a different shape or anything like.
Well, they will purposely try to make it look as similar to the previous model as possible.
But that's just a prototype.
Yeah, like
the actual Combine will have its own.
Like when he was running that thing pre-release,
allegedly.
If he
wait a minute. So
if he was running that pre-release, it would not. They would try to make it look like a previous model Combine.
Really? Wow.
Because it's out in the middle of a field. It could be along a highway running.
Yes.
Anyone could see it, and they haven't released it yet.
The farmer knows, though, right?
He's probably signing an NDA.
Yes.
Oh.
No, I never signed anything, but I have a feeling if I would have said anything, we'd never gotten our Clost demo again.
Say, it kind of ruins a relationship.
Yes. Like, once the bridge is burnt, the bridge is burnt.
Kind of like if you cheat on your girlfriend and you're done.
Yep. Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't call Clost my girlfriend. Like I pay them a lot of money. If anything, they're a hooker. Okay?
Gold dick.
They are a high-end call girl. Okay.
And we've gotten to that point in the show, everybody.
Yeah. They do help you out a lot. I mean, I'm not saying it. I've seen people husk corn by hand. I think that Combine can do a little better than that.
This should be a clip. This might be a clip on the YouTube channel.
They're
a hooker.
I think it should be. But he's exactly right, though, because you can't, with a Combine, it's not like a tractor or a car. You can just drive it in a test track in Detroit.
Well, I see them with the camouflage. They put that digital camouflage on it. They actually come, just the other day I saw one going on the highway. You see them all wrapped up. You can kind of see the shape of it.
Now, the four-tracked front-wheel assist, that was pretty hard to hide.
That is pretty hard to hide, but they looked like they were kind of cool in that digi camo type thing.
Yeah, like, well, it's got 4 tracks. That's a little odd.
And it's green and yellow.
And also, I feel like, just talking to several of the guests we've had on here, it seems like a new piece of equipment comes out is a big deal.
Well, everyone tries to be the latest and greatest because when they go to any kind of big show, there's going to be a lot of publications. There's going to be a lot of publicity. And, I don't know, once you buy, like if I bought, so we bought another 1038 Fendt. We don't have it yet, but we've ordered it. 5 years from now, if I buy another one, like, eventually, like, I know exactly what that truck's going to, I mean, it'd be like buying the same car every time. The exact same model. If it don't change any, you're going to want something different.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that's a lot of it.
Right. I guess.
And also they're adapting. They're, improving. I mean, the X9 Combine is quite a bit different than any other John Deere Combine.
I mean, so John Deere as a whole, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but they're one of the bigger brands in the U.S., especially in the
I'm correcting you. I'm joking.
Oh, there's no doubt. I'm not a farmer, and I know that.
See, that's the thing. They have a great marketing program. Everyone thinks, when they think of American farmer, they think John Deere combines or John Deere equipment.
Just John Deere equipment, John Deere tractors, whatever. And
I mean, she thinks my tractor's sexy. I think he used a John Deere tractor in that one.
John Deere Green, Joe Diffie. I mean.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean,
could he use red?
International Harvester is a pretty good song, though. I will.
Yeah, that's
good
hard
music video.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know if I've ever saw that one.
So with the X9 though, it was the biggest combine release in over 20 years from Deere.
So it was not just like a little upgrade.
So they hadn't
was it all new combine then from ground up pretty much?
100%.
So like they had made updates in the past 20 years, but nothing huge.
So this was a bigger deal than normal. Okay.
Like same concepts over the
think
period.
it's cool that you get to to me that would be. I would love to be an engineer.
Well, I
don't think I got the brains for it, but I'd love to do it.
He could have one of the best YouTube channels on YouTube.
Man,
but he'd get fired.
Yeah,
I would get fired.
It would be a very short-lived YouTube.
Yep.
So you probably can't really talk about what you do though. Like,
Yeah, Ron, go ahead and tell us.
I don't know. No, I don't need specifics, but I mean, like, so you're pretty hands-on as far as designing the parts and how they function. I mean, that's just crazy to me to think that. I don't know. Well, anytime I think about somebody that like designs these machines, like somebody.
So if you're the owner of an X9 combine and you're cussing it right now, Hartung Family
Do
Farms.
not look me up.
He's got a YouTube, man. YouTube. He also refs basketball games.
You might find him on a basketball court in northeastern
Your
Iowa.
combine sucks.
I'm gonna get like all the hecklers this next year, thanks to you guys.
Well, there's like 6 people listening, so don't
Yeah, I
worry
was gonna
about
say you're giving us a lot of
Hey,
credit.
you got a 7th now.
it. Oh, now he didn't listen to the previous ones. Okay,
Oh,
anyway,
man.
I thought he was a shoe-in.
Oh,
But I mean, without going into a lot of detail, there are like different segments. There are only test engineers. There are only design engineers. But
okay, yes.
there is, I mean, hybrid. Like me personally, I have a little bit of both. I enjoy the design side of things, but I coming from a farm background.
So would that be like a field engineer? Is that what your technical title is? Or
No, I mean, we don't do technical titles. I'm an engineer. I mean, really, I'm a product engineer. I work on the product. We have manufacturing engineers. I mean, my technical title is a product engineer, but it's just a vague term given to a lot of different people. I mean, realistically, the easiest way that I like to describe what I do is during the off season, I think of ideas and I work on things to make us more efficient. And then from now until December, I go out and I prove the concepts. I prove what we're thinking. I try to break it. I run the equipment. I go to these far
Always in the
places.
mustard.
Basically, running the mustard, not the ketchup. So
Okay, what does that mean?
so in a piece of equipment, if it's running too hard, it'll start flashing red usually.
Oh,
If it's not, it's flashing green. So running the mustard.
green, you're good. Red, you're bad. You can run in the mustard, just like a stoplight.
okay, mustard.
It'd be like
yellow.
almost redlined.
Okay.
Almost
Yes.
redlined, but not quite.
So you get to actually brainstorm ideas and come to your boss or whoever and be like, hey, I think this will work, or hey, let's.
Half the time,
I'm guessing someone up there has to approve, right?
there's like, I mean, yeah, you got to have budget and whatnot, but I mean, there's people to at some point where I mean, there's a lot of autonomy where like, hey, if you got a good idea, run with it.
So how many? Okay, so on that combine, how many engineers do you think were in, like? How many does it take to come up with to design a whole new combine?
A lot. I mean, I don't know if I can go into specifics or anything like that, but just when you think about the logistics of designing a new combine from the ground up,
I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. I mean,
there's a lot of
There's
moving.
like 6 or 7 at least.
Yeah. I mean, it's got a.
how many parts is in the combine? Do you know that?
I don't even know that.
I'd
off
love
the
to
top
know.
of my head.
Classified, redacted,
Millions. I mean, wouldn't it be millions though? Or no?
I don't know
and
if it'd
redacted.
I don't know if it'd be millions, but you're exactly right.
Well, you go down to relays and all, you know.
Oh yeah.
Well, just think like your car has to like how many pieces do you think in your van out there and whatnot?
If you count the tools in it, a lot.
That's a good point. By the
But
way,
yeah.
half of them are
Be like a
missing right
typical
now.
Well,
John
it's
Deere.
funny. Okay, well, here's the funny part is like to me, like you don't understand how many little parts and pieces are in a vehicle until you think of this little relay. If it goes bad, the whole thing don't work.
Well, think about the coding that has to be put in that computer for that little relay to send a message to your display to tell you it's not working.
Exactly.
And all the different times that like, hey, I'm driving at this speed and I touch this button and then that relay goes bad. Or you got to think about all the situations that like that could be used and it could fail.
And then
get
you
it
think
tested.
of all the things, like if you actually look at the maintenance manual on a combine, I'll be real honest, we don't do all those.
Me neither.
And neither does any other farmer.
No.
So the fact that they are still able to run after thousands of hours of use and abuse, baffling.
Yeah. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just like a car, too, where you're really only using that engine for just getting up to speed and then you're coasting. I mean, a combine is using
It's full throttle all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at engine load. You're not looking at RPMs. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
how close to lugging that engine down are you? That's what you're looking at when you're running.
Well,
That's
I
why
guess-
he's talking about the mustard.
I guess I can't speak too much about the Kloss, but on the X9, you look at the engine RPM because you're using the whole machine. You're not worried about puking it out the back. Unlike your Kloss, you're probably
I'm not worried about puking. I'm worried about plugging it.
yeah, well,
Yeah, I guarantee you're worried about plugging
you
it
don't
too.
have to worry about that.
Oh, okay. I guarantee that twin rotor is real fun. I guarantee it.
Oh, here we go, boys. And it's on. Where's the button?
It's
Oh, man. I'm guessing that's the difference between a Kloss and a John Deere.
No, they both are actually somewhat similar in that they have their twin rotor design is actually, that's probably the only similarities, isn't it?
And
I'm going to say it here first, and you might get mad at me, but Kloss copied John Deere on that design. You heard it here first. Look up the CTS. 1996 is when John Deere had a hybrid style machine, and Kloss didn't come out with it until 2003. You heard it. You heard it here first.
The
Kloss copies
the
Deere.
4 Series Klosses were hybrids. Like the Ford.
Yeah, the 4.
That would have been
495
pre-2003, wouldn't it? I don't care.
I gotta look at it. CTS was before Kloss, though. I'm just saying.
It'd be very odd for John Deere to engineer something from scratch. Be very, very odd.
You know, it is
I knew
funny.
that
We're
was coming
sitting in
at
here.
some
There's
point.
a lot of John Deere stuff.
I like to give people shit. Like, I grew up running John Deere equipment. Like, I even told Ron today, I actually kind of like John Deere tractors.
You did say that.
Yep.
I have that on tape.
Oh,
That's fine. You can play it all you want. I do. Can't afford one, but I like them.
well, and speaking of that, like I've always wondered because I like to try to understand or try to think about how things work, but how much a company will look at another one and be like, hey, we could, incorporate this, make it
It's
better.
pretty odd that when, okay, so I'm going to talk about
Just
John
go
Deere.
out to it.
Yep. So Case IH has had quad track, four-wheel drive tractor. So you know what a four-wheel drive tractor is, like an articulating tractor?
Yes, well, Ben's got one, didn't he? Or?
Yes.
Yes.
So a quad track has 4 tracks on it.
Yes.
So Case IH was, I believe, the first company to come up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Had it for a long time. Had a patent on it for like 20 years.
20 years.
So
Yeah, 20-year patent.
that
And
means
then
nobody else can actually make.
No one can make it until that patent runs out.
You can't physically have a quad track tractor then.
There's,
No
Other
matter how
than-
different it is, it
there's-
cannot have 4.
Well, you have to work within their parameters
what
of
they
that patent.
Yeah,
Okay.
So patent law is a whole different animal I don't want to get into.
Yeah, there's probably an attorney that could figure that one out for you. We ain't it. But it is kind of funny to me that like every John Deere dealer had ways of selling against this thing and why 2-track tractors are better.
Oh,
and then
I know
when
where
this
this is
patent
going.
runs out, all of a sudden, well, we're introducing the John Deere 4-track articulating tractor.
Best thing since sliced bread.
Even costs more money.
Oh man,
And it even costs more money than the quad track.
that's
By a
when you
lot.
know. That's when you know he's a salesman.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
man.
that happens. That's not just John Deere. I mean, basically,
all the
anytime a
time.
patent runs out from any company, it's probably going to be copied if it's a good patent or if
Okay.
it's a good idea.
Or if you're over in China, they just copy it anyway.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure there's
Yep.
a Chinese quad track been running around for 15 years. Actually, they probably don't have a big. I don't know.
They do. I mean, it's not the large machines that they do, but I mean,
Does John Deere have a Chinese version?
like
Is there a John Deere China?
Yes.
They probably had it 20 years ago. Then I'm serious. I mean,
I-
there's no patent laws there. I mean, why wouldn't they?
You know, that is true. I mean, but I do know, in other, the U.S., Australia, Brazil, and Europe. I mean, those are your core markets for any large ag machinery. India, Africa, South Africa's got a little bit of places that have modern agriculture, but Africa, India, China, Russia as a whole, for the most part, aren't terribly and they're not as far along as us.
So have you seen that next combine?
Next at.
What do you think of that thing? I figured it got blew up, but then I seen one. Well, it's in Ukraine. I figured it got blew up.
Last picture I saw of it was tipped over in a field. So I was like,
Oh, I seen one planting like this.
yeah, I think it's a really cool idea.
Wait, it plants and it harvests?
Oh, so basically,
It's a carrier vehicle.
it would be like a skid steer. Like you're putting on different attachments,
That is a cool concept.
and it is completely different. Like there's nothing about it that looks like a combine. There's nothing about it that looks like a tractor. There's nothing about it that looks like a sprayer. Basically, when it's a combine, it's 24 rows, I believe.
Yeah, pretty much.
Really wide. I mean, that's 60 foot wide. The cab is clear over on one side,
Oh.
and the machine is really long.
It's just a beam. It's all
And
it is 4 tracks or tires and a beam.
And whenever you switch to road mode, the cab spins, the tracks spin, and it goes.
Wow.
Very different. Like that's probably the most different out of the box thing I've seen in a long time.
Hey, what are you hurting on the tri-bind, buddy?
You wouldn't believe how many people tell me that's the best combine in the world. Like, yeah, I see a lot of them.
Yeah, no kidding. But I think that is a really cool design. It's definitely not the first one, but it's the first concept of that. But it's the first one that's actually been put into practice, and they actually have a pretty good concept going. The biggest thing I think about that is that's not going to work on this type of ground or anything like that.
What are you saying?
I'm saying your ground is as choppy.
Because they don't have
ours.
Russians?
Well, you don't have mines laying in your field, so that doesn't help.
Yeah.
But I think that is a really cool concept with it.
He's working on it right now, Brian.
Yeah.
It hasn't been 20 years yet.
Yeah, I was going to say the patent hasn't run out yet.
No, they'll just buy them. Them or AGCO will buy them. That's kind of how it goes now. I mean, either AGCO or John Deere buys the competition.
What's wrong with Case?
What has Case done groundbreaking lately?
They bought Raven.
Whoa, okay.
Who's that?
So Raven is a GPS company.
Yeah.
Oh,
Really, Case hasn't done a whole lot. I mean, that I've noticed. I mean, just as a casual consumer.
Yeah. No, I haven't. I mean, I know they're working on stuff. I know you've seen probably their pictures of their like next gen Steiger or their next gen quad track or whatever.
I have not.
Really?
No,
They
is
look kind of. They
that a
look kind of
rocket?
like. They look kind of like their sprayers, their new sprayers.
Okay.
But it's just ginormous and looks ugly. It looks like basically a giant anteater. But
Okay.
and I know they're working on like a next gen combine or anything. But I agree with you. They haven't really came out with anything big in the last 10 years, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, they put a new upholstery in their cab and put a new monitor in it. That's about it.
Their new cab is nice. I mean, it's designed by Dodge engineers. I think who helped them
Well, I
out?
mean, aren't
Same
they owned
company.
by the same company?
Yeah, same company. Yeah, so Fiat, so Dodge, Fiat.
they own Case. They own who? Case.
Yep, Case.
Really?
They're the parent. So Fiat is like the parent company of a large conglomerate, like
okay.
Iveco, which I think they sold off Iveco, but they used to be a big
Well, they used to be Iveco engines, weren't they, or something like that?
FPT engines. They're made outside of Chicago.
Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, is John Deere still the only single entity owned? I mean, is John Deere still owned by John Deere?
Yes. Well, I mean, we're owned by shareholders, which a lot of major companies are that are publicly traded.
Yeah.
But yes, John Deere does not have any parent company. Its parent company is Deere and Company.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, and it's good.
Do they own other companies?
Oh, yeah, they're all called John Deere now.
But they don't actually own something and leave
They
it,
usually
not-
don't own a company and keep the name. They
So
usually
they
absorb it.
Well, the name is what they're going for, though.
Yeah, because
They're just getting rid of the competition.
Right. That's what. But that too is like the name
I'm
sells.
surprised Heggie is still labeled Heggie.
There's still a lot of diehard Hagee people, and he mentioned it before. I mean, Monroe said the brand is a huge thing. I mean, Deere's brand is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the green paint sells. It doesn't matter what it is. There are some people that will only buy green paint because it's green paint.
We had a farmer up north. Everything wouldn't buy it if it wasn't green.
I mean, there's a guy I know that literally paints his Ford pickup, his jet ski, everything is John Deere green and yellow.
Oh,
And it's just like, but it's the brand because it's a loyalty. It means so much.
it's an iconic color. I mean, it's and also, have you ever?
How many other green and yellow things do people have? Like, think about that.
Yeah.
Like, how many green and yellow things do you have that aren't farm equipment? I have
Absolutely
0.
none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iconic color only in farm machinery.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of ingenious.
How many red pieces do you have? I mean, are we
Red and
Dad's
silver?
pickup's red. I
I
mean,
drove a van here that's red. Yeah.
red and silver? I mean, it's very, very
it's
common.
it's very odd that it worked, but it worked.
Well, I mean, I think Kloss is right for where they're going because they used to be. I mean, your Kloss combine right now. How many people? I mean, probably to this day think that's a cat combine.
Oh, it
Like
still
that.
gets called that, and that was definitely a branding issue on their part.
Exactly.
I mean, but at the time, that's how they were getting into the North American market was by partnering with Caterpillar.
Exactly, and it was a smart move at the time. But I think, I mean, honestly,
Should have been phased out a long time ago.
exactly. It should have been done a long time ago because Kloss, one of his combines that he has, their parent company is in Germany. All of their
Well,
equipment
the company is in Germany.
That's true. Yeah, their company is in Germany.
So Kloss is a family-owned.
Not,
Really?
not publicly traded or
Yep.
anything.
Wow.
Like Hermit Kloss, he actually recently died, but he was the owner of the company.
Yep.
Wow.
Very relatively small, but still a major world global player. But their main colors are that lime green, red, and white.
Okay.
But
Except in North America,
yes,
where they were yellow and black until like 3 years ago.
Now what color are they?
That same lime green and white and red.
Okay.
yep. Because if you think about it from a business perspective, if you're wanting to expand into a country, it is impossible. Like the amount of tariffs and hoops that you got to jump through to get into a different market, it's a lot easier. To
Well, they've been
partner
doing
with a
it.
company.
I mean, they've been trying to do it since 1990. I mean,
Yeah.
it took them, like 25 years.
Yep. And what they ended up doing was, Caterpillar, big construction, they had an ag division back then. They partnered. Caterpillar didn't have a combine. Kloss had a combine. So Caterpillar was a well-established North American dealer hub and everything like that. Kloss had a good combine. Paid at a Kloss combine yellow, and away
So
they
the
went.
first cat combine we bought came from the same Ohio cat store you would go to buy an excavator today. Now, they have an ag store, but at the time you were in the same building as you would go to buy a new dozer or a new
Wow.
excavator. I mean, it was literally on the construction yard, and the people you were dealing with were construction-style salesmen. It was very different for a while.
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
I think Kloss is also going to be in a similar situation now because, again, Kloss doesn't have that hardcore dealer infrastructure. They're kind of piggybacking off of AGCO, which, not to get in the weeds, but Kloss sold off their
Well,
ag
that's
division to
all
AGCO.
because of the cat relationship. I
Yep.
mean, Cat sold their tractor to AGCO.
Yep.
While they were parented or while they were joined with Kloss. So every cat dealer became an AGCO dealer and also became a Kloss dealer at that time.
Yep.
Which is why most people think that AGCO owns Kloss, which is not the case.
Not the case at all. So basically, the situation is going to be interesting where you have Kloss and AGCO, which are two trying to be major players in the U.S. I would say they are, but they both have combine offerings. AGCO is very in its infancy. It's not a very proven and well-accepted product yet. Kloss is, but once AGCO has a well-accepted
I think
product,
they'll try to pressure the
they-
Kloss brand out.
They 100% will.
But I think it's going to be very difficult for a lot of dealers because they have a very proven combine in the Kloss and a very unproven combine in the AGCO.
True.
I think it's going to come down to how many tractors are they selling.
That's very true. I mean, just look at. I mean, they tried to get in with the.
And then you have
deal.
Kloss trying to import their tractor into North America, which I think sucks ass, if we're being completely honest. Unless someone wants to bring me one for demo, I will gladly try it out. It looks terrible.
Yeah, I guess I haven't. I can't judge it at all. I've only ever sat in it.
That's all I've ever done,
Yeah.
but it does not look North American friendly.
Yeah, and
I don't think.
And I guess I try not to judge a book by its cover because, like I said, I've had the privilege of running a lot of wide variety of equipment.
It's all about how the
outside
seat feels. No, I'm joking.
well, buddy seat especially, and Kloss takes the cake on that one. Their seats are nice.
I thought you said the Challenger had a good seat.
Challenger does have a good seat too.
Oh, you mean the combine seat?
Oh, I was talking the combine seat. Your combine seat, so the Kloss cab is absolute crap.
Yes.
Except for the seat. The seat is really nice. But yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens. I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole, but I mean, it's what
I think we're there.
It's
We're in the bottom.
I think we're going to have Ron back again.
We're this is the record for longest podcast.
Oh, man.
Wow. But I mean, we could go down the rabbit hole because I mean, we haven't even touched on. So think of the amount of change your dad has seen in his lifetime in farming. He's gone from open station 40/20s with 12-foot discs.
No, he went from a Oliver 77.
Oh.
That was the first tractor I think that he planted corn with.
So imagine going from that right now to his John Deere 24 row and his Challenger tractor. Imagine what we're going to see.
So at some point in there, he's going to tell you, "I wish I had my 4430 and my 12 row."
He said it to me today earlier.
They can take this new shit and show the press. I'm sure he said something along those lines.
Yeah, I bet when it is harvesting better, faster than his.
When he's not just full of dust and
Yeah.
he's not out there putting new chains on.
I bet he's not complaining about it then.
Yeah.
When you're in your nice AC, heated
Got
seats.
your air seat, yeah.
I don't know about all that. That does make some weak men. Huh?
Yeah.
But it's crazy when you think about what are we going to see in the next 20, 30 years. We're definitely
We're not going to be driving them. I can tell you
We're
that
definitely
right
going
now.
to see self-driving vehicles, whether that be tractors or really. I mean, self-driving tractors are here. John Deere released their first autonomous tractor a couple months ago. Like they are selling those.
I saw a big video circled around Facebook. It was a red case, I think.
That's been around for a while.
Yeah. I mean, that was 5-6 years ago.
Yeah,
but
that was the concept. Like Deere this year has 10+ tractors, has a lot of tractors out in the field.
It doesn't surprise me, and with the GPS type of things, I mean, it's not a stretch to make the tractors do it itself.
Tractors have been driving themselves on farms for the last 25 years, probably.
You just got to turn around at the end and all that, but
yeah, maybe 20 years. But yeah, it's been around for at least 20 years.
Kind of makes you wonder how far away we are from life being a little bit like a video game. You sit in your office and you run your tractor, and then you drive your car to go to the store, and the store loads groceries in, and then drive the car back. And I don't know, that seems crazy.
Trying to think when I'm in my 70s, like, Dad, I don't know that I want to do that. I mean,
well, okay, so I love the idea of technology. It's just technology amazes me, but I'm scared of it at the same time. The technology will ruin us. I know this sounds crazy, but technology will absolutely ruin us.
I agree with you, but on the flip side of it, just to play devil's advocate, what's the average age of a farmer right now?
Like 60
Yeah,
something.
50s, 60s. So how in the world, when those people want to retire, die off, or whatever it is, how are we going to continue all this work that we have to do? We have to get more efficient. One person has to be able to do 2, 3, 5 times more.
Well, the workforce is so strong right now. It'll be real easy to find someone to sit in a seat.
Yeah.
Sell me part of a farm. I'll farm.
$40 an hour, Brian. You got me.
Oh, shit. That's what he meant.
39 here. 39, Brian.
Yeah, might just be all right to
With
have Dax
overtime.
do it for free.
With overtime, 401k match, housing, all the above, please.
Health insurance, please.
Yes,
Health insurance.
Health insurance.
he started sounding like his old man.
But on the bright side, this is a write-off for you. So
Yeah, the less money you make, the less you have to make in taxes.
exactly,
We'll pay your taxes for you.
we are doing you a
Yes,
favor.
we are absolutely doing you a favor.
Good God.
I think
Well, I think
guys
we could sell farm equipment.
You guys want free college too? Like,
Yes. Wait a minute. Do you require college to work for you?
yeah, you gotta have a doctorate.
Oh.
Hey, you're looking at a master here, so I prefer my preferred name is Master Ron from now on.
Master Ron.
That's what I'm gonna start calling
We
you.
need-
Master Ron. That might be the title of this podcast, Master Ron.
Oh, I
That's
like
got to
it.
be it. Master Ron. Oh,
Like
my.
everyone else has just had their name, Master Ron.
We are breaking all kinds of records with this. And
Yeah, you got to go
breaking
all
new
the way to
ground.
minute 2 hours and 30-something minutes probably when you edit it down to get to why we got to this point.
Oh boy.
Because I did get my MBA a month or so ago, so therefore Master Ron.
Oh,
It
wow.
is. So it's official. I need to get business cards for that.
So, getting the MBA, do you get to sit in the driver's seat now?
No, they still don't let me in the cab. I've broken too many things in my career.
I was going to say, what's the guy got that sits in the cab?
Associates
A clean track record.
Oh, okay.
diploma.
Yeah. Well, how do you? I mean, you're testing it. Like, yeah, you're supposed to break stuff, right?
Yeah, you're supposed to break things, but there's also certain
Like wellheads aren't on the list.
wooden objects that you're not supposed to run into.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yep, I probably shouldn't go into that too much, but any of my coworkers, if they for some reason find this, they know
Tell
exactly
them
what
you
I'm
just need to
talking
take a
about.
driving course. That's all you
Well,
need.
it was 4 years ago, and I think the next day I came and visited you. I think that was the first time I ever came in, and you were. So yeah.
Okay.
We'll story for another time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to stop back in. This is great.
Oh, I'm sure. This won't be the last time. Shoot, it's probably my.
He'll probably be back in a couple months.
It's true.
Next
He
time.
makes his
Usually,
rounds.
Last year it was summer and fall. I want to say I stopped through.
I think it was just fall.
I think it was just fall. Yeah, I think you're
I
right.
think you've only been here twice before now. The first time and then last. I think you missed all of 2020.
Yep, you're right. I wasn't out here for 2020 because I was out south and out northwest.
Yep.
But,
Yep.
oh yeah, I'm sure I'll be back.
All right.
You can't keep me away.
Well, it's been. This is probably the least prepared we've been for a podcast.
Hey, well, this is
No
the first time
notes.
I've never watched any background.
Well, I
video, so
purposely did not send you his YouTube link just because I wanted to see how it went.
Well, okay.
I knew Ron would talk enough we'd get through it.
I was a little bit nervous because I don't know anything about this guy, and I'm like, I don't even know what to say to him. So yeah, I guess it does work.
Yep.
No,
I
you
probably
get-
will go watch your YouTube now though, because I've got to see. Now I got to figure out who he is.
Just talk to him for 3 hours. Gotta go watch a YouTube video. Figure out who he
Go,
is.
honey, I talked to somebody. I don't know who this guy is. I got to look him up, make sure he's okay.
Well, I mean and you hit on it before. I wish I could be more upfront about what exactly I do because it would make some freaking awesome content.
I want to know.
It would be awesome. I mean, maybe someday when I'm done with Deere, I would love to do a tell-all. And
We're going to do retirement podcast. That's exactly what we're.
Dude,
Well, I'll be sitting
that.
here with gray hair.
I
and
like that.
I'll give you $100.
Oh, let's do it.
Quit paying him, man. I don't want to put that out there. We're paying guests.
Well, I
The
mean, this,
YouTube channels. Oh, your YouTube channel's monetized now. So
actually, Brian will give you $100.
Brian's got this board to pay for.
Well, I think the board will be paid for by the time he retires. The board will be paid.
yeah,
for. I mean, this
but-
is 40. 30
Well, I
years
figured
from
he's
now, or
making
20.
enough that he'd be able to retire in like a year or two.
yeah, I hope so.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh well, shoot! I wasn't planning on that. This is a 20-year deal. Like, not within 20 years.
So you're gonna divide that $100 by 20 years?
Yeah.
I'll give you $5.
$5.
There we
yeah.
go. Yep.
That'll cover a gallon. I'll get 20 miles down the road.
Yeah.
Get my extra allowance back.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, Ron, I do appreciate you coming out. It's always fun having you out here. Always have a good time, and I appreciate you sitting down to this podcast with us.
No, it was fun. It was fun meeting you in Monroe. I mean, you guys have a great thing going. I look forward to following you guys. And I all kidding aside, I have listened to all the podcasts, and you do a very nice job. Brian, you got good radio voice, and Monroe's got the witty outtakes and everything. And you, guys,
I'll take it. I'll take it.
you guys will have a good show. I look forward to seeing where this goes, and hopefully you'll have me back here in a couple years.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming out. This has been a blast.
All right, and we're out.